As the leader of the Booner pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff, Boone, Lucas. We got a packed show. Lions victory Monday. They took care of business. Beat the Indianapolis Colts on the road. Lions are now undefeated on the road this year. Road warrior. And we got a short week this week. Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving. We'll be at DK Sports and Social in Troy.
Let's go, baby.
Great weekend, fellas. Big day, Victory Monday. Lots to get to. What's the vibes? I see Booner already got he's already locked in. You got the glass, you got the chain. Victory Monday. I'm fired up. Lots to get to. Kory Woods also joining the show.
Shout out.
I said yesterday, too, and we did the Kool-Aid Chug after the game. Shout out to all the people at the hub for doing that. And I did the Kool-Aid Chug, and it was like one of those ones that Klotzy's done a lot of mine now and helps me out with all of them. It's getting to a point, and this isn't a bad thing, but it's just like we just keep winning. We're winners now. Like the Detroit Lions fans, the franchise, it's a winning franchise now. And I know it's only been 2 or 3 years, but it's like I have to find ways when you win a game versus the Colts where it's like this was supposed to happen. Like, like last year, it was just, every win was so thrilling because it's like, oh my gosh, what's happening right now? And now it's just like you're expected to win these games. How do we get up for these games? Have to find a way. They're 10-1, boys. Hey, can I just do this real quick? Can I just throw out a bunch of names? Can I just say something just real quick?
Go for it, bro.
I just wrote a list of names down. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know.
Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams. How about this one? Are you guys ready for this one?
Yep.
Tim Patrick, Jack Campbell. How about this one? Malcolm Rodriguez, Zadarius Smith, DJ Reader. How about this one? Josh Pascal, boys. Jack Buck. Hey, people showed up yesterday. Players showed up yesterday. Guys are hurt. No matter, I don't care. Next man up. Dan Campbell said it today in his press conference going into Thursday. By the way, FTB. You guys know I don't cuss on the show, but FTB, F the Bears. That is this week. Big time game. But Dan Campbell said next man up. Yesterday felt like a next man up mentality. Guys kept getting hurt, going down. Everyone stepped up. Klotz, go ahead. Say the name.
David Long.
David Long, baby. Had no stat lines. Nothing in the stat book. The man
He was out there.
Hey, Klotzy. Victory
Cheers,
Monday.
bro.
Cheers for you, baby. Hey, Lions are 10-1. It is a beautiful, beautiful 10-1.
Love it, Boone. Boone couldn't have said it any better. Gritty dub. Unfortunate, my Colts narrative had to take another strike there, but you know what? Lions made Anthony Richardson look like the quarterback that's pretty much still in his rookie season. Jonathan Taylor was put into a headlock. Aaron Glenn just booling on the sideline. There was like 4 minutes left to go in the game. He's like, yeah, game's wrapped. They haven't scored a single touchdown, not going to. Just another dominant performance. You look over in Kansas City right now, Bryce Young, 27 points. 27 points against that Chiefs defense. The Lions are the best team in the NFL, fellas. It was a great week. You know who else caught a dub? That 10.5, huh? That 10.5 spread, huh? Boone? Huh?
I'm talking Lions today. I really don't care. This is a Detroit Lions Victory Monday. Don't care about anything else. I don't think the people in the chat care about the Buckeyes.
Hey, well,
does, though.
It was a great weekend. Maybe, except for the Hoosier fans, but Lions fans fired up, big win. Also, practice report came out. That's probably the only negative of this whole thing. Now, Dan mentioned in his presser, I'm going to play a clip after I show the practice report. He mentioned in the press conference more of a rest week, short week here. So here's the practice report at this point. No surprise, by the way. This isn't like DJ Reader. Of course, you're resting him. Amon-Ra, resting him. Just guys that are dealing with nagging stuff already. Khalif Raymond's probably the more concerning one. But Terran Arnold, full practice. So he's ready to go. He'll be playing on Thursday. Dave Montgomery, no practice. That one I'm a little more curious about. Same with Taylor Decker and Carlton Davis. But not all these guys will be out, but there's a decent chance a couple will on a short week because they play Thursday. So you're talking about a physical game on Sunday, and then they have another physical game at least offensively, certainly in what 3-4 days. So those guys, we got to get some of these guys back now. Taylor Decker, Dave Montgomery, Khalif Raymond, Carlton Davis. Those are the guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean, and
go ahead, Bill.
I was just saying I could play the clip too because Dan talked about some of the guys today.
I have it right here. I got
to pull it up too if you want. I could throw it up here if you want.
Here, I got you. Don't even worry about it. I got it right here. It's already in a tab.
All right. Hey,
I got it. We got it all ready. It's already ready for you. Okay, let's hear. Here's Dan Campbell. Speaking about more of the injuries. If you caught the presser, here's your update. But here's MCDC on the injuries this week.
That's tough. I mean, I think there's probably 3 of them that I think it may be hard to get them there, but it's really a day-to-day. It really is. We're going to know a lot more about some of these guys tomorrow than we do today. And then, it's going to come down to the wire with a number of them. That's the challenge with the short week. The good news is I think most of these are not some long-term thing, but the problem is 3 days to turn around and play. That's where it becomes a bit of an issue. So if we can't, we're prepared like we always are. Next man up. You got to hold the line, do your job, and go compete.
So you heard it. He's not as confident on 3 guys. I think my guess on that would be the 3 that
He did name the 3. I think they clipped. It was Carlton, Taylor, and Khalif.
That's fair. Yeah, David was back. David was back on the sideline, but
they did.
He ended up leaving again. So
I guess I saw a report. I think it was I can't remember who it was actually. I saw a report that David Montgomery actually came out and said that he's like I'm playing Thursday. So it must have just been like a banged up on the shoulder to where he's like I feel good. But the Carlton, Taylor Decker, and Khalif, like the Khalif one, Dan said last night after the game. I don't know if you guys remember hearing that. I think we played it on the show. The post game show. He said that one could be like a long term one. That's like a foot injury that could end up being long term, which that is brutal because Khalif, I know he's not a big time starter, but as a special teams unit, like I feel like our special teams is a big part of this team. And then I thought it was crazy out of nowhere. Obviously, Terrion full practice, which is good to see with the groin, Jeff. Like because I remember you were having that conversation Friday. I thought he was going to end up playing, and you were like, "Hey, sit him." And they sat him, but he's full practice all of a sudden now. The 2 that it's just out of nowhere, I guess DJ Reader's sick, which on a short week, you're like, that's tough having DJ Reader sick on a short week. He is a vet, so maybe he doesn't need a game plan as much. But the Amon-Ra St. Brown one, out of nowhere, a knee. There was really no conversation yesterday with that. And then you come into the building today, and it's like, yeah, he's banged up. And Dan actually brought that up. They brought up the 3 players, and he was like, I don't think they're going to be good to go. And then he said, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown's kind of banged up right now, which is like, that's tough. So you're going to need guys to step up. Let's be honest, though. We're 10-1. This is why you're the best football team in America right now. It's because you have dudes constantly. Like, how many injuries? Jeff, I know you'll be the first to admit it. Me and you sat down after the NFC Championship loss. I remember exactly where we were. I think actually I was sitting outside of your house, outside of your garage, sipping on Kool-Aid, depressed after I didn't get to dump the Kool-Aid on me, and I was sitting there sipping on it outside of your garage. And you're like, "Hey, Booner, tell you what, this might have been the best chance because of injuries." And I was like, "Shut up, dude! Like, we're gonna be fine next year." Then guys started to drop. When guys started to fall, and then you start thinking, "Oh no, this could be it." But then you're probably someone who admit, like, maybe we're all wrong with this. Typically, if a team goes through injuries like this, you see the 49ers, you start losing football again. The Lions have gone through, like, not just like little nicks. They've gone through major injuries. They're still 10-1. Like, that's how good this team is. So, like, if Amon-Ra is out Thursday, Taylor Decker, Carlton, next man up, baby. And they've got the dudes. And they have the dudes to step up. I know Khalif and Amon-Ra are up. Tim Pat. Hey, guess what? What is it? Who is it? AR8? Allen Robinson?
AR8. Allen Robinson.
Step up. Corner. Guess what? Emmanuel Moseley. We're going to talk about Emmanuel Moseley later because we have a segment defensively. And Dan even talked about him. Listen, we have a whole segment on Emmanuel Moseley. Emmanuel Moseley, big game Thursday. Like, there are dudes that are going to be big time. And I was on the phone today talking about the Thursday game. Lions have lost 8 straight Thanksgiving games. 8 straight. I think there's a correlation here. I know typically you do have Thursday games, but when you're in Thanksgiving mode and you have to go Sunday to Thursday on a game in a 5-game stretch, and you're in this, it's not like it's like week 2 or week 3. You're in like week 13, and your bodies and you're going through injuries. It's like, this is tough. And you're at home. Dan said it today. Your families are in town. It's tough, man. So it should be interesting Thursday. Oh, real quick too. I'm sorry. Just for Bears week, I just want to make sure we make this very clear right off the bat here. Just off the jump here. Just want to let them know what we're dealing with this week. All right.
Love it.
Hey,
Oh, that's me. Sorry. There.
yeah. Well, it is
Very clear. Hey, FTB baby. F the Bears.
Yeah, no, fuck the Bears. There's not going to be any gassing here. Well, Dan Campbell did mention how well he is playing, so we got to approach it. I don't want to be too dismissive. Hey, Lions aren't dismissive of any team, so we got to. I think the Lions should win this game, even with the injuries, and we'll get to that probably later in the week. We give our score predictions out, but I'm just going to mention this really briefly.
Go ahead. It just clears my conscience as well.
Are we going to act like we don't know where that knee injury came from Amon-Ra St. Brown? Because
what?
We know where that knee. We know.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know what setting of the camera that I hit. Okay. So whatever's happening with the cameras.
Are we going to act like we don't know where that knee injury came from? Because we had the watch party, and I'm not saying,
I actually don't know.
I'm not
doing crossed up by Jameer.
I'm not doing the blame game. I'm just stating like a fact. It happened on the punt return. It happened on the punt.
Oh, I don't think so.
Boone. Like it literally.
I think he hit his head. I didn't think it was his knee.
No, he grabbed his knee.
Yeah,
like after, and then that whole offensive drive after he's rubbing his knee. I was like, Amon-Ra's hurt right now. Like,
and
it wasn't like anything crazy, but he kept grabbing his knee.
I'm not saying blame the coach. Fire all the coach. We're just saying that.
Hey, you know what? It's football, huh, Jeff? It's football. You gotta step up and play different positions.
I'm just saying. I don't like. I hate it. I just get Vaki this week. Vaki should be doing that. Vaki, shout out Vaki.
Sione Vaki should have been out there. Yeah, I agree with you guys.
That's why I wanted to bring it up, Boone. It's not like Dan Campbell's the worst.
I was wondering why you guys were laughing. I was like, why are you guys laughing?
Because me and Lucas, as soon as we saw a knee, we looked at each other because we were on the watch party when we saw him like bending his knee. On the
I was sitting there and you guys looked at each other and I was like, guys, it's football. We're playing game. We're playing football here.
But again. And then the audience would probably agree with that. That's why we don't want Amon-Ra on these type of things. I just
100%.
Yeah, but he's a dog. He'll do it anyway. He's a dog. He'll do it anyway. But
he probably asked to do it. To be honest, he was probably. We need someone.
They're probably telling him to go back there.
They're probably. He's probably like, I'll do it. No problem at all.
I'll say just.
By the way, just became a crunch runner for 7 months. Let's go.
Shout out my group.
Sione Vaki. That's it. That's all it needs to be. I mean, Allen Robinson.
I want to see him with the ball. I want to see Vaki with the
Craig
ball.
Craig Reynolds. Like, there's so many guys. Khalil Dorsey. Like, there's just options before you have to go to Amon-Ra. Klotz, you said like you don't even have to talk about doing Tim. We don't even team Tim Patrick back there. I don't know what I'm trying to say there.
Team Patrick.
We don't need any of those guys. Anyone that's either old or important, like, keep out of there. We don't need that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like you mentioned it, Klotz, on the show yesterday. Like, unless it's like fourth quarter tied game, like if you want to put like JMO out there, I would be okay. I'm open to it, but like just playing punt, just that's you're playing your punt return guy for the entire game. Like, fuck that. No way. I don't want to see that at all.
I'm not mad. Hey, they learned. It was one of those things where today we had to learn.
We had to learn. Shout out Vision Cell. Thank you for the $2, my man. He says we're playing for longevity, not short term. Appreciate you, man. He is right. But yeah, like Boone, you kind of alluded to here. A lot of news transpiring. Obviously, the injury updates with all the players. That's something we'll follow throughout the week. But other news that kind of came in before we get to Jared Goff's comment on the fans, because he was hyping up the fans a little bit. I just want to get this out the way because this isn't. I don't want this to take up a big part of the show. It's just something I do want to report because it did kind of come out today. We put it on our Twitter or X, but officially, and let's just quiet the BS now. Okay, Jameson Williams, no charges. It's done. It's over with. Boom.
There we go.
It's gone. It's behind us. Behind JMO. So
no suspension, nothing. We're good.
Yeah, it's over. No suspension. None of that. We had why am I messing up? The defense attorney. Wade Fink.
Wade Fink.
Yes, Wade Fink. Shout out to him. He came on the show, explained everything to us. And what he was saying is he didn't expect any charges at all. And of course, no charges. So we got our answer to that. Wanted to point that out. So Jameson Williams is fine, and he looks good. He looks good out there. He continues to make plays. So I'm curious. They'll probably have Jalen Johnson on JMO this week, right? Because he plays outside. Is that what they'll probably be? Because
I wouldn't be surprised if they just had him follow Amon-Ra. That's what we did last week against Justin Jefferson. That's why Justin Jefferson had nothing going on. Like, he locked that man down.
Amon-Ra potentially out.
I hope he isn't out. I hope he is.
I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it more, but I think, boys, like, what's the spread right now? 11. This is, I think, going to be the Lions. And I said it earlier in the a week ago. You can't really call a divisional game a trap game. But if there's a game where the Lions could get smacked in the face if they go in their sleep, and I think it's going to be this week. We talk about the Thanksgiving narrative, and this Bears team has just been so close to winning games, and they just haven't been able to do it. And I just think that the Lions, they better come prepared, especially with these injuries. It's going to be tough. The Chicago Bears, not a good team, but a physical team. So I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah, I just think it's not Klotz. I'm with you a little bit. Like, not a trap, but we said you have 6 games left of the season. 4 of them are divisional. I just think the Thanksgiving game, if you've lost 8 straight, again, I know those Lions team the last 2 years have been like the team to break trends, and make history. So you would expect maybe that it's easy for them to turn it around. And I've been pretty vocal that what they've done the last 2 or 3 months, it puts it into a spot to where there are no trap games for a team a team that's this good. There's just no trap games. They're expected to win every game. But if there was a game where it's this is going to be a tough one, especially with the injuries, short week, Thanksgiving, family, this is the one. So you have to find a way to lock in. And the Bears coming off an emotional tough loss that they probably should have won. They're gonna come in a little bit hungry. As much as we hate the Bears, we all know the Bears, it's a battle. It's like Michigan State or Michigan Ohio State. Every rivalry, no matter what the spread is, how good it is, it could be a blowout or hey, this could actually end up being a game. That's how it is with a game like this with Chicago.
Yeah, because
especially on Thanksgiving.
Those divisional games are already physical, and now you have 2 physical teams. So it's double. It's going to be even more physical, So I think it'll be one of those. I think it'll be an uglier game. But the thing I am still confident in is the Lions ugly versus the Bears ugly. I would still give the Lions a big advantage playing ugly. I just think with Caleb Williams, man. And we'll break it down tomorrow in more depth, but.
It's a tough
even with the injuries. The thing I am worried about, it dives back into the Colts game. That offensive line, it was a good test for them to get that defensive front for the Colts. They, Goff got sacked 3 times, but it felt like it was way more. I don't know why. Watching the game, it felt like he was under pressure. Man. Watching
we got a segment today, Booner's question. That might be involved in the Booner's question.
Okay, we'll save it then. That's
that's a good tease right there.
Yeah.
But that's something I've thought about.
The Bears can do that for sure.
Yeah. So Caleb will also be a really good look at. We talk about looking last week with Anthony Richardson. I tested Josh Allen, but you look at Caleb Williams. He's another mobile quarterback that's going to be trying to make him plays behind the pocket and even running for it. He's a big frame quarterback. Same thing with Anthony Richardson. And you even look like next week against Jordan Love. He's not a quarterback that's going to torch you on the ground, but he's going to make some plays behind the line of scrimmage. So I think what they have going for them, if they're able to just neutralize Caleb Williams, which I think they will, especially Aaron Glenn with the rookie quarterback and Matt Eberflus at the helm, I think this defense definitely will have some success. But there's also, you're going to see those glimpses where it's okay, here's now another look at when they're in the NFC Championship against Jalen Hurts, they've played a quarterback similar to that. And I think Caleb, not a Jalen Hurts type of player yet, but he has a lot of the same skill set.
He's
he is the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it's every time you're getting a quarterback, Anthony Richardson had a couple good weeks, and then all of a sudden you're playing him, and then Caleb's had a couple good weeks. Oh, you got to play him. Oh, Josh Allen's starting to play. He's an MVP. Got to play him. All right, here we go. Jordan Love this last week. We got to play him in a week or so.
And on top of that, you're already getting a team who's going to play you at their best. That's the Lions that they've been dealing with that every week. Every week teams are going to play, and except for the Jags and the Titans, I guess, because those two teams just sat down and said, you know what, you can have it, you're good. But most teams, respectable teams, will play their best when they play the Lions. Even the Colts. I'm actually shocked, guys. It was that. it was that bad. I mean, it wasn't Jags level, but I did think the Colts would bring more offensively. I mean, if you told me the Colts wouldn't score a single touchdown, I would have been like,
I thought the offense, and I was pumping up their offense before, like a lot of guys. I thought the offense yesterday for the Colts was going to be good. I think it's just a credit to the defense, to be honest.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we're talking about it tonight. It's just the defense was just unbelievable yesterday. It was they were on a different level, it felt like. And for the last like 4 or 5 weeks, honestly, not even just last night.
I mean, and the fans, and this has been a thing here kind of all year, where you go to these opposing arenas and they're all, like 50% at least are Lions fans. Like, I don't know how you combat that. That's got to be frustrating. Like, I know firsthand experience, like going to a ton of Lions games kind of growing up. That was the atmosphere at Ford Field every week. Like, it was like, I went to a Dolphins game. I say the story plenty of times, but it was 50% Dolphins fans. Like, I remember that. And now it's like having other places deal with it. It does make me grin. It makes me happy. Like, I'm like, fuck yeah, the Lions are finally here.
It's unreal.
You know? Yeah. And you won't see any at Ford Field. You'll see probably a couple, like probably 5, 10, but that's it. That whole place, 60,000 are Lions fans. That's what I like to see. Here's Jared Goff. He spoke about it. This was kind of post game after the Colts win, but this is him kind of talking about Lions fans.
Yeah, it's pretty dang cool on the road for regardless of them doing my chant or anything. Like it's awesome to have a fan base that travels and makes a difference on the road. And I think I was thinking about this recently. Like, our fans don't just go to the game; like, they go to the game to affect the game, and certainly do that at home. And then even today on the road, and I go back to Houston, in Arizona, like they show up to change the game, to affect the game, and they take it on themselves, and we love it. We love it. But yeah, the love they show me and the love they show our team is something I'll never take for granted.
Do you guys see Foxy? Shout out Foxy for Pat McAfee. He put some on his story. He was in like the suite there, and he had a video when it was third down for the Colts or something like that, and the place was loud. And he was at home. I was like,
that's
oh
crazy.
My gosh. Like,
is that on his Twitter?
No, it was on his Instagram story.
Oh,
it might be gone now. I'm not sure if it's there, but it was loud. Like, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, if you just watched that story and you didn't see a logo on the field, you would have been like, this is a Lions home game. Like, that's great. And we went to Indy. It was only 5 hours away. Like, you had to think people were going to, oh, you got it?
I think this is, I don't know. He posted this. It sounded like I played it in my headphones.
Yeah.
And it was loud in my headphones.
It probably.
I mean, I played it for a second in my headphones and I was like, this is insane already. Let me turn it up for the people. This is a third down for the Colts.
Yeah, this is crazy.
What?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't helping out Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson
with a pop, too.
He was getting so mad.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He was there was a couple of times where he was just dropping.
Oh, he was irate
after the play, where you can just see the young player frustration, immaturity. Aaron Glenn, he figured out a way to frustrate and make him uncomfortable. Get an even more immature diva coming into town this week.
I think it's crazy though. Like, the fans, like these guys, like these people, they just they are literally affecting the game. Like, who was it we played a couple of weeks ago? I think might have been Houston, actually, in the fourth quarter, had to switch to a silent count in the fourth quarter in Houston.
Well, Geach was there. He said it was packed.
Yeah. Like, I remember seeing, I think it was Jason Kelsey that did a breakdown on a Monday night last week, and he actually showed the film of Houston having to do silent count because it was just so loud in their stadium in the fourth quarter when the Lions were coming back that they couldn't hear it on offense. And it's like, think about that on the road. That's in Houston. Like, Indy is a couple hours, 6 hours away. We're talking about Houston across the country in Texas. Like, that is unbelievable. And the fact too that Goff just comes, it's just these people aren't just showing up to the game. Like, they're affecting the game, on the road. And it's not just a close game like Chicago. It's every game any home game or away game that they have. And that I know you might not have home game or away games in the playoffs. There's one away game in the playoff. And if there is a fan base that can make a difference on an away game in the playoff at the Super Bowl, I would have to think it's Detroit Lions fans showing up and third downs being loud, actually affecting you. I don't think we've ever seen fan bases affect a Super Bowl. I would have to think that if the Lions make the Super Bowl or when they do, that these Lions fans are going to show up and they are going to be loud in New Orleans. Like it is going to be a home field advantage.
There's going to be fans selling cars, looking at moving into smaller homes. If the Lions make the Super Bowl, there are going to be people that are dedicated.
It will be packed there.
Like even people that just want to be in the city, like, fuck it, we won't go to the game, but we're going to go to New Orleans and see the boys win a Super Bowl, be part of it. Like that whole city down in New Orleans, especially the roots that Dan Campbell has down there. Like people, like everything just lines up perfectly. And I agree with you, Boom. Like it might not be the sea of blue just because the Super Bowl and people already got their tickets ready. But to your point, if there's going to be a fan base that'll flood in there and find a way to make a difference, it'll be us. It'll be us.
It's shocking every week. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was gonna say, you mentioned the Super Bowl, like NFL Films, NFL, the NFL, NFL Network, ESPN. Buy all the suites you can, because as soon as the Super Bowl Lions, if they make it, which I believe they will, Lions fans are gonna crowd that place. Like you better get those tickets early.
I mean, I'll say this: we had another meeting Sunday night. We will be at the Super Bowl, New Orleans. Like that's already getting planned. So start planning now to be safe, fellas. Like if you're in the chat, if there are fans, like be safe because the Lions are 10-1 and they have a chance to do it. You don't want to be the one to not be able to be there and experience that. I'm excited, and I think people are going to show up, dude. I really do.
I'm trying to think of like Super Bowls where like a lot of the crowd is like on one side. Like I'm trying to I
don't think there's ever, maybe New England would be the only one because their fan base is so diehard. The only two I can think of, New England, because they were winning for so long. So like I feel like every year they were expecting to be there, so they probably were buying tickets and going. And then two, the only other fan base that I think's like close to is crazy. Not Seattle. I think Philly. I think Philly fans like show up and show out. Like Philly fans are scumbags and they love it. Like I went to the Eagles game a couple years ago, and there was thousands of Phillies fans there. And obviously this was before last year, before we were like what we are now, but there was so many Philly fans there, and they were like doing their whole like Phillies chant and everything, and I was like, this is crazy. Yeah, and they were all in for it. So I think Seattle, I don't know if Seattle, like Seattle,
I'm saying like during the Legion of Boom, like their fans,
their home field, I think their home field was good. I don't know, like away, I don't know away. I've never heard, the only teams I've ever heard of the way fans actually showing up is maybe like Buffalo.
Even the Rams. I mean, the Rams, like the Coach's Point home game was at SoFi the year they made it.
Yeah, and they didn't even have home field advantage because they don't even have it in the regular season.
That's true. SoFi isn't really.
I would hate to be like outside of the 49ers, like a fan base in California. Like San Francisco is just better.
There's just so much going on.
Yeah.
Well, they were all like Raiders fans, and they were all San Fran fans originally. Because then St. Louis and San Diego or I guess San Diego's in. Yeah,
that's the thing about
they had fans because
they moved cities, so it changes everything.
In Cali, man, versus Detroit, like Detroit's really football town. Like it's a football city. Like it's hockey town, but football. When the Lions are good, there's no beating it. And that's what Cali's Hollywood. You got the Dodgers, the Lakers. It's like
they have like 15 professional teams.
Yeah, there's so much going on in LA.
They have 2 NFL teams in one city. I guess not gonna work.
And they're sharing a place. It's like, what are we doing? And it's
2 NFL teams, 2 NBA teams, 2 baseball teams.
Got a nice place, too.
They did.
Finally. All right, well, we're going to welcome in our guest, which I'm excited to talk to him. He's been joining us every Victory Monday. It's been a blast, man. Shout out to him. He's been working all day.
I love it.
And he's taking time out of his day to join the fellas. By the way, this is always brought to you guys by BetUS. Please welcome to the show, M Live beat writer for the Detroit Lions, Mr. Kory Woods. Kory, how are you doing?
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Kory, you're going from, you're bouncing around. You made the show now. It's like you're grinding all day. I'll ask you, because I'm sure the fellas will get to more of the injuries and stuff about this upcoming game, but just kind of your thoughts on the game itself. I mean, the Colts, at least for me, you asked me before the game, and you said, Jeff, the Lions are going to hold the Colts scoreless. It would no touchdowns. And now they haven't allowed a touchdown for the last 10 quarters. I wouldn't have believed it, but now we're here, Kory. What do you think of the performance? Lions didn't play their best game, and they still found a way to take care of a good Colts team on the road.
Well, first off, I think it was a pretty good performance off the simple fact that they have now gone 10 straight quarters without allowing an opponent to score a touchdown. The last time they've had something done like that was 25 years ago. And
God.
I don't know if I can say they really didn't play their best football. Here's what I will say though. The Lions finished with 390 yards of total offense, which is around their average of 394. They outscored the Colts by 18. They outscored them by 18 points. I mean, from after that field goal in the first quarter, they outscored them 24-3 the rest of the way. And here's the thing. As great as this team is, they're not going to steamroll everybody like the Cowboys, the Titans, the Jaguars. Those games just don't. That's not normal. And I think what's going on with this run is that if the Lions play in a game like they did on Sunday, people will be like, "Oh man, they didn't play their greatest." I mean, they had almost 400 yards of total offense and 3 touchdowns. The only thing that really was kind of bad you can probably critique is that they got off to a slow start, but. I mean, that was a really good Colts defense, and we knew they were going to have problems initially with the with containing Anthony Richardson's mobility. But you got to also tip your cap to Aaron Glenn, just been able to figure out things on the fly. So I thought it was a good game because it was once again showed you that the Lions do not win the same way every game. When you can beat teams multiple ways, regardless of the circumstances, that's a sign of a good team.
Yeah, hey Kory, just defensively too. Just building off of that, just the defensive line. At least for me, it felt like they showed up. And obviously that could have been Aaron Glenn's scheme. What are your thoughts on how they played? They held Jonathan Taylor to like 3 yards per carry, and then it felt like all night long that AR was just running around and they were getting pressure on him. What are your thoughts on the Zadarius Smith, how he looked and how this defensive line looked yesterday?
I thought the defensive line looked good. Darius Smith had some good moments out there, but I mean, I don't know the guy's name who was on the Colts offensive line, so forgive me if it escapes me. But Lee McNeil put the work on that boy all game long. I mean, it was what they say. It was sad singing and flower bringing. It was bad. So you got to give the defense. You got to give the defensive line some credit off of that performance. But
Nothing less to say.
They figured a way out. It's me and Ben, we did our podcast after the game. You know, after every game we do our Dungeon of Doom podcast, which can be from mlive.com. We were just we were struggling for 30 minutes. Like, what do you critique?
And kind of going like fitting with that same narrative with what do you critique? When you look at Jared Goff's performance, Kory, and you see 0 touchdowns, but you see just how efficient that offense still looked, no turnovers. What do you make of that? Do you think it's a good performance? Okay. Where do you think that performance falls away with Goff, seeing the numbers that he has put up, including the touchdowns in recent games?
Well, he had 4 touchdowns last week. This week, I think he could have gotten the end zone a couple times if him and Sam Laporta would have connected. I don't know. Something's was kind of going on funky with their connection there. Maybe it might be because the timing might be a little bit off because Laporta's been in and out of the lineup. But I mean, close to 300 yards passing, no turnovers, made the key throws, made the timely throws to get them in the red area to set up Demo. And I mean, I think it was smart too. I mean, that's another great thing about this team. They don't care about how they win as long as they win. You have Goff throw for 300 yards and no touchdowns, but he gets them in the red area and willingly hands it off to the best running back duo in the NFL, and they get all 3 of the touchdowns. And I mean, they took advantage of the weaknesses. They were just blowing up that 8-man box all game long. I mean, imagine being on a 3rd and 8, and this guy, they just said, "We're not passing it. We're just going to run it straight through you." I mean, I think Goff had a good performance just off the simple fact that he had that many yards. He was efficient and he didn't turn the ball over. Yes, you would have liked to see a touchdown, but the main thing is he put them in position to get the points they needed.
When you look at the short week here, Kory, just kind of your thoughts with some of the guys that are banged up, and you got a pretty good Bears team coming in. Not pretty good, but they're playing decent lately. I mean, they took the Vikings kind of down the stretch there and came back and still lost. Caleb seems to be playing a little better. What do you think of some of the injuries, short week? Your kind of thoughts, maybe some guys that they could play. Your predictions on whether or not they will play.
So we just got through talking to Dan Campbell not too long ago. We actually had like a late media session. So there, as far as what we heard from the injury reports, so a number of guys did not practice today, even though it was a walkthrough. A number of guys didn't practice today. One of those was Amon-Ra St. Brown. He has some knee issues going on. Dan Campbell said he's a little bit banged up. They'll see where he's at tomorrow, but he feels good about it, but wants to see where he's going to be at tomorrow. The top 3 players that he's worried about for this week is Taylor Decker, Khalif Raymond, and Carlton Davis. Those guys, those guys took some got banged up pretty bad yesterday. He said that those were 3 people he had to worry about not being able to be ready for this short turnaround. It'll be them. Not to say that those will be long-term injuries, but just on a short week, those are 3 guys that he's worried about. One guy that was on the practice report today, but was a full participant, and that was a good sign, was Terrion Arnold. He missed Sunday's game with the groin. So the fact that he looks like he's going to be set to go, guess you got to cross your fingers, because we thought he was going to be ready to go this past game, but if he's ready to go on Sunday, I mean, that'll be a good thing, because we saw Vilder's performance yesterday, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, not the best. Offensively, Kory, one thing that I had my eye on, and we were going to talk about it today on the show too at some point, the offensive line. And obviously yesterday, Taylor Decker goes down, Skipper comes in. It does feel like, and I want to know where you're at with this, it feels like sometimes offensive line-wise, when guys go down, they struggle a little bit at times, especially that left side. Do you think that's a worry going forward with the Lions? Like, hey, if a guy goes down, this is something to keep, because it feels like this offense starts with the offensive line. They've built the whole offense around that. Is that something that you think they look at and they're like, all right, we need to figure this out? Or they're kind of comfortable with where they're at with the depth and all of that?
The Lions are gonna say next man up, because I mean that's just the thing that they like to say. I would say
until Vildor plays. Until
Vildor.
Yeah. Next
I
man
will
up.
I will say they believe in that next man up mentality. It's not just, even though it is coach speak, it's not real coach speak for them. But having said that, you do see that there are some deficiencies when certain guys are out. A Vildor, a Taylor Decker, when those guys miss time, the Lions tend to struggle in those areas. So I think that this year it could be a concern. I think moving forward, like in the future, I do weekly draft articles where I think guys the Lions should target, and I definitely think they're going to be targeting some depth at the O-line in next year's draft. But that's another story. But just to kind of to stay on point, I think that could be a concern, because Taylor Decker he's a very big, important piece of that stout offensive line. And if he goes down, I mean, we've seen what happened. We've seen what happened with Skipper. We've seen what happened when I keep messing his name up so bad. But it was Siki goes out there. It's
You're good, dude. You're good.
And
kind of
carrying this conversation on with Chicago, Kory, what is your concern level? Because like you just talked about with the injuries, and then you factor in, look at how Chicago's been playing the last 2 weeks. You talk about a blocked field goal that lost in the game against Green Bay. Then yesterday against Minnesota, going into overtime, a miracle the fact that they were able to get into overtime and looking like that. It's like they're this close from a win. Then you add in the Lions' Thanksgiving woes. What is your concern level if you had to say, 1, Lions are going to handle the Bears, no questions asked. 10, Bears beat the Lions. Where's your concern level in between there?
I would say about a 2 or a 3.
Okay. Confident.
About a 2 or a 3. Now, if they were going here, and here is one of the main reasons why, and this is not to disregard the Lions' talent, because the Lions, even with the injuries, I still believe they're the more talented team. But the concern level for me would be higher if they were dealing with these injuries going into the Bears game at Soldier Field. They're coming into Ford Field in what is now one of the hardest places to play in the NFL. They're coming into a hornet's nest with a 10-1 team that can be 11-1 and finally win a Thanksgiving Day game, which they haven't won in almost a decade. Yeah, I think that just off of that alone, it's going to be a lot for Caleb Williams and those guys to overcome. Now, don't get it twisted. This guy is talented. He has the receiving core, And you want that secondary healthy. I believe you need a healthy Davis and Arnold out there to go ahead and stop some of that. But overall, I just think that the home field advantage is definitely going to come into play in this game, and I don't see it happening. The concern level will be higher if they're going to Soldier Field.
Yeah, I gotta ask you this because you're the perfect guy to I gotta pick your brain on this. I saw the report. It was from Jordan Schultz that Daniel Jones, free agent quarterback. We're gonna talk about it later, but I'd love your opinion on it, Kory. Lions, one of the teams rumored to be interested in potentially picking him up to be a backup for this season only. What are your thoughts on the potential of having Daniel Jones as a backup quarterback?
You know what? I saw the report. At first, I was just like, what? That makes no sense at all. Then as I sat on it a little bit more, it still didn't make sense to me. But
come on.
I can see why the Lions would want to do that. I mean, let's just be real. Hendon Hooker has talent, but Daniel Jones is an experienced starter. And I believe that he was probably not in the best position to utilize his talent. So first off, if you bring him in here, you're hoping he never has to touch the field, because if he touches the field, that means something happens to Jared Goff. But I believe that by bringing a guy in like that and just allowing him to work with Ben Johnson, work with Mark Brunell, kind of get some of those kinks out, have guys that are dedicated to helping him improve, you might at least be able to have a viable backup just in case something happens.
Hey, Kory, I'm with you on that. I just want to pick your brain on one more thing, something that we actually had a conversation about during the game yesterday, and I know it's a small part of this team. The Khalif Raymond injury, when you look at it, the punt return, the special teams, as much as some people might not look at that stuff as a big deal, with this Lions team, we've seen that work in their advantage a lot. Who do you think? I know it might be a crazy question, but what do you think steps in for Khalif Raymond at punt return? We've had this argument, this question. We saw Amon-Ra during the game, and the guys brought it up. It looked like he might have got hurt, and that's where he hurt his knee, was on one of the punt returns that he took. Do you think they go, hey, Sione Vaki, or where do you think they go with this if Khalif is out? Because I think, Dan, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I thought he mentioned last night it could be more of a long-term thing, and it wasn't an injury that looked good foot-wise. So who do you think kind of steps into that role?
That's an interesting one. And yeah, Dan Campbell said last night that it looked like he would miss some significant time, but they have not placed him on the IR yet. So, I mean, I'm just going to assume he's going through testing and all that good stuff. But Vaki is an option. But here are two guys I would not be surprised if they got elevated, and they're on the practice squad. You still got to look at Maurice Alexander and Donovan Peoples-Jones, guys that do have, kick return, punt return specialists in their DNA. Those are guys I think they could go ahead and look at that option as options, and also guys that they could probably be able to call on their number in certain packages if needed. I think I could see DPJ possibly getting that call because he's also another big body that they could throw out there if needed. So those are two guys that I would look at. Maurice Alexander and Donovan Peoples-Jones is possibly getting elevated.
The return of DPJ.
That's it. We didn't even think of those two when we had the conversation. So I love that.
I didn't hear it. Great one. It's a great one.
No. Real quick before we get you out of here, Kory, one last question. Do you believe Matt Eberflus falls short on this Thanksgiving game? This will be his last week on the Chicago Bears sideline.
It should be, but it should have been a couple of weeks ago. So, I mean, at this point, if you're not going to fire him now, might as well just fire him at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. I think they've seen enough. I think at this point, you've seen enough. Appreciate you as always, Kory, joining us every Victory Monday. You guys can check out Kory at Kory E. Woods. Check out his work on MLive.com. Does a great job covering the Lions. Keep grinding. My guy, we'll talk to you next week. Hopefully, we can get you back on.
All right, see you.
There you go, Kory Woods, the man, dude. Look at him coming on the show, grinding all day, and still taking time to talk with the boys. By the way, brought to you guys always by BetUS. DPJ returning.
That would be interesting.
Oh, don't act.
The narrative lives on.
I told you so.
No,
it is interesting. Honestly, I don't know who I'd rather have, DPJ or Maurice Alexander, but
Well,
I would like
real quick.
Maurice.
You know what's sad? Before you go, you know what's sad? He's been on the practice squad all year, has not gotten picked
Not
up
once.
at all. Yeah, has not gotten picked up. Has not
They
gotten
signed Tim Patrick after that. They've signed Allen Robinson in that time, and Allen's gotten
Yeah.
gotten elevated in some games. So I don't think there was a chance he was ever going to get brought up. Honestly,
Or signed by any team. Signed.
any
by
team. Yeah, no one's picked him up.
No one's picked him up.
Not even the Patriots.
Hey, but he was supposed to be the wide receiver 3 that was supposed to. I'm not going to say anything. I should go back and get old clips. I should do that.
No, you don't have to. I said it.
You
Go
did,
ahead.
yep. Mike, Unk's watching.
Yeah.
I remember getting in arguments, but you guys being like, Booner, why are you freaking out? I'm like, pulling my hair.
Is there a reason to freak out, Boone?
There was with Allen or with Donovan Peoples-Jones. The man is in the practice squad for 13 weeks.
You go say they were just fine. There's no.
Because they picked up Tim Pat. As soon as they got Tim Patrick, I was like, yep. They listen. Hey, they listened to us. They say, "Hey, let's go get a wide receiver." But no, the DPJ stuff.
Yeah.
Even Maurice Alexander, he is explosive and he has been really good. Do you guys remember him in the preseason though? Like the first game, like he dropped and muffed a couple punts, like multiple, a couple fumbles. Like there was like that sense where it was Klotz kept saying that he needs to make the team, and then the game 1 preseason, it was the man muffed like 2 punts and fumbled it. It was like, this is not good. This is like not a good
he returned one to the house last year. And then this year, he's had he's got it. Maybe it was just the rough stretch. I don't know. Maybe
did any pick up Isaiah Williams? Any team? Do you guys know?
Yeah, someone did.
But I don't know if he's still on the team. I don't know what happened.
He's literally that makes that's very ironic because he's literally like a clone of Tyler Boyd.
He's still there. Yeah, he's still
such a weird move for them to drop Isaiah Williams as a rookie who was actually like. It was such a weird move.
They paid him a lot of money too, draft.
For an undrafted free agent. Yeah, they gave him a decent bit of money, and he's still on the Bengals. All right, Booner. I'm curious what your question for the offense is. We teased it earlier. Actually, should we do takeaways then get into it, or should we do it now?
Let's do some takeaways, and then we'll.
So I got
hit some takeaways.
I got a big takeaway, fellas, and this is my. You know what? We'll get to the positive first. It would be wrong of me to start with something I don't like. Okay. The positive, the run defense. I mentioned it today on Bleacher Report with Lucas. The run defense they had a stretch there after Aiden where they were struggling a little bit, and talked about it earlier. They held Jonathan Taylor to below his lowest. He has now had his lowest rushing game of the entire season. He had like 30 plus yards against the Lions. I think before that it was like 48. So the Lions not only held him to his lowest rushing total, but by 10 plus yards. Like they did it pretty convincingly, to be honest with you. I know a couple of those were called back, but I don't really care. All game, the Lions run defense, they played extremely well. And to me, the reason why that's so significant is because what we just saw on Sunday Night Football last night with Saquon Barkley, who is the best running back in the National Football League right now, has the most yards, rushing yards, has the most total yards. And that's why I think doing that against Jonathan Taylor, doing what they did against Joe Mixon, I have to mention first the run defense. That to me is something to be very optimistic about come postseason, because one thing about this run defense is it travels. It's not something that you rely on in certain weather conditions, like the passing game, for example. Like some of those things don't travel. The run game and the run defense travels. That's why I had to bring up the run defense first. DJ Reader had a hell of a game. Lee McNeil had a hell of a game. And Zadarius Smith, Josh Pascal had a hell of a game, especially in the run defense there, getting after Jonathan Taylor, just not allowing Anthony Richardson to have a run game. I mean, besides himself, he led the team in rushing, but I'm not too mad at that. I got to give credit there. Lions run defense, elite. One of the best in the NFL right now.
I mean, I'll just take it a step further because my biggest takeaway of this game, and I think I'm starting to see it a little bit more, and I'm just going to go on defense here. The defensive line. I think there's a sense to where we were going into these couple of weeks where the line, like with Zadarius joining and all the, I didn't think people thought that it was going to be as good of a defensive line as we thought. I think it might be a little better than we think, boys. Like this defensive line as a whole. Josh Pascal stepped up, like rush defense, Jeff. I agree with you, but I even think, like, I know there was 0 sacks yesterday. As we were watching it, guys, I don't know if you guys felt like there was pressure on Anthony.
Yeah, he was under duress a lot.
The whole time.
lot. Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of people, and obviously if you want to give Anthony Richardson a little credit, but like him going 11 for 20 with 9 or whatever it was, an insane number.
39%, Boone.
There's a reason he did that, and it was because he was constantly just getting rushed the whole time. So Darius Smith had like 8 quarterback hurries, like the whole off or defensive line. Josh Pascal was in there. Aleem McNeil was blowing up the middle. DJ Reader was in there a couple times getting some big hits on him. Like it was just constant. It was constantly just going and pressure. And I think there's a sense of, with the secondary you have now and the linebacking core that you have, I know we want to get home and get sacks, but the pressures, guys, this year with the way AG is putting the scheme out, like that, it's even better than it was last year. Like you're like, all right, we can win games like this. Like that was a running quarterback. Yeah, you gave up 60 yards, but man, did you get pressure on him? And he was having to make tough passes all game long. And I know where there were a couple that were dropped, and there was a couple with penalties and those different things. But like outside of that, like they were putting duress on him. I think like the takeaway, because it's hard to find a takeaway for this Lions team sometimes, because offensively they're so good, secondary is so good, the linebackers are so good. Some of the bad things that we've been looking at is the defensive line, and I think like the last 2 weeks, and then especially yesterday, like they showed me a little bit like, hey, they're going to be able to show up in big games, especially versus quarterbacks that are mobile. Like they're going to be able to show up, and it's going to only get better and better and better. I'm very confident with this defensive line right now, especially guys. Josh Pascal, unbelievable yesterday. He has been so good the last few weeks. He deserves a lot of credit. That's probably one of my biggest takeaways. It's just this defensive line as a whole stepping up.
Yeah, and I'll flip to the other side because the defensive line looked great, but one guy specifically I thought looked awesome, at least struggled a little bit in pass protection, but when you got Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner, it's going to cause some issues. But Frank Ragnow, the run game, boys, he was eating up. Like Jahmyr Gibbs in between the tackle, that run that David Montgomery had on 3rd and 8. You think about those third down runs that they had against a loaded box that Kory was bringing up. They're running it behind Frank Ragnow. Even with 4 toes on 1 foot practically, the age that he's at, he continues to be the best offensive lineman at that position, the center position. Frank Ragnow, he had a game, and I think as long as he keeps playing like that, they can afford the performances like Kendall Vildor had last night, because while if they're playing a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson, they're going to be hitting those throws. When you have a center like that and Frank Ragnow continuing to play the way that he does with Penei Sewell and the rest of this offensive line, it'll even out. So Frank Ragnow, one of his better games of the season, but he was just dominant yesterday against those two guys and run blocking. They probably have not been pushed around like that in a long time, the duo of Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. So shout out to Frank Ragnow, had a hell of a game.
Yeah, he did. He's kind of the unsung hero at times. I mean, those guys had a hell of a task. I mean, hey, Graham, Frank, and Kevin. Like Kevin got beat. I mean, I think DeForest Buckner had like a sack on the first drive. Mm-hmm. It set the tone. They're like, oh, okay, we're dealing with these are some big guys. Yeah, these are some
big bro.
Yeah, big bro. Those two are massive human beings. I mean, it's a tough task for any offensive line. I'll say another one here. I thought, at least for me, defensively, my takeaway, and I don't want to tease because we're going to get into the defense more. I never, ever, ever, ever want to see Kendall Vildor play another snap as a Detroit Lion.
Oh my gosh, that is a big takeaway.
No, I don't. It's an obvious takeaway, but I would be remiss if I did not mention it. He was so bad. And honestly, the corner depth is really where I'm going with this. Outside corners specifically, Carlton Davis and Terran Arnold, like they are your starters. But after that, I'm concerned. Like, because Emmanuel Moseley isn't really an outside corner at this point. So you're looking at Khalil Dorsey and Kendall Vildor as 2 corners that are backing up your guys. And I know they're backups for a reason, but when I see those 2 out there, all due respect, better athletes than I'll ever be, I'm terrified. So I don't know, and Streams Only makes a good point. I'm sure we'll get to it later. Mika to the outside, you can maybe work some things there. Emmanuel Moseley in the slot, whatever. I looking at that cornerback depth, boys, whew, you better hope Carlton Davis doesn't miss a lot of time, because you're going to need Terran Arnold to basically be Revis Island.
That's going to be a problem, actually.
Which is not fair for him. You're going to ask him.
Doolin's running free down the sideline. Their special teams ace, their gunner. was running down the sideline and Kendall Vildor. And I was like nervous. And I even said before the stream, like, Lions lose this game. Like, you're not going to go Kendall Vildor. If the Lions lost that game somehow yesterday, I would have went Kendall Vildor, like the reason, because the amount of yards they would have picked up, he would have given up 200, 300 yards if the flags weren't there.
To be fair, we have a video later on it. Emmanuel Moseley's coming back, and he's going to be healthy. So, like, you're starting to get a little depth to where if Terrion or, like, Carlton not there Thursday, if he's not able to go, hopefully Terrion's good, and then hopefully you have Emmanuel Moseley too. Because you can't go on Thanksgiving on Thursday and be like, hey, we're gonna throw Kendall out there. Like, give me Khalil Dorsey. I don't know why Khalil Dorsey's not getting runs. He had to wait until until Carlton went down, and they went at him one time yesterday. I remember directly they went at him, and guess what? It wasn't incomplete pass, and it wasn't. It's just every single time. They're targeted Kendall Vildor. Even if there was a flag, a hold, it was always complete. It was always complete. There was not one incomplete pass thrown his way. It was, and I Kendall Vildor's a great person too. It's just like, it's so obvious at that point. It's just like, dude, like maybe if you gave up 1 or 2, dude, it was like 7.
But my thing, and I'm sure we'll get more in depth. My takeaway is the corner depth scares me. Like, I don't love the depth at corner as much. I'm not in love with that. I get Dorsey. They're solid special teamers. Dorsey is very good special teamer, actually. But, like, playing corner, I don't know if I feel comfortable with any of those guys in that room. On the outside. Like, you have Moseley and Amik at nickel, but I'm talking just playing outside corner. I did not love that.
DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and Keenan Allen coming into town this week.
I mean, even the big matchups. I mean, we'll talk big Eagles. Like, you're gonna have Smith and AJ Brown. Like, that ain't.
Well, you'll be healthy then.
No. Yeah, of course, yes. But my point is, with injuries, that I do not love that. And I don't think. By the way, and I'm also well aware that corner depth isn't like, it's not like every team has just depth at corner. But it is definitely my takeaway watching that game. As soon as the injuries unfolded, it was like, oh my gosh, not good.
The Jerry Jacobs thing too, by the way. He's like tweeting out like, how do some of these people have a job? I don't know. I think I'm out on Jerry too. I would rather just like give Khalil a chance and let Emmanuel Moseley come back and get healthy. I'm not gonna say
back.
There might.
I mean, give let's just move guys around. Give move Amik over, get Branch in slot and bring in Brandon Joseph. Like, there are so many more options than throwing out Kendall Vildor, and there's so many more options than bringing Jerry Jacobs back.
Well, I'll tell you, the obvious thing
is I'm not going back to last year.
If they really felt Jerry Jacobs was a need, they would have already been added. Well, he would have come up like right now. Yeah. They haven't done that. So
that's just unbelievable.
Gilmore when you need him. Sad case. Jeff Legacy player.
Yeah. And the thing that stinks, and I want to make this very clear, Rakestraw's on IR now. So that's why it sucks even more. I would feel comfortable with Rakestraw playing. But yeah, that's what stinks is the injuries. But go ahead, Boone. Sorry, I just had to go off on.
Go ahead with what? I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that was my takeaway, boys. I had to make sure I get that out there.
I love that. I think that's a good takeaway. I think that's great.
Well, you got a question for the fellas. I'm curious. We at the beginning of the show. Let me know what's the question here, Boone. What's the
two-part question? And Klotz, he did his takeaway. He did Frank Ragnow on the offensive line. So I think he already answered it, but it kind of goes to the opposite of his question here. Because we really haven't talked about the offense yet. I think we've talked about the offense a million times already with the Detroit Lions, and like yesterday's game, we know what they're about. Their run game's unbelievable. The running backs are the best in the NFL right now. We know what the wide receivers are. Sam Laporta, I think, honestly, a takeaway, actually, rewind a little bit. Where has Sam Laporta been? Because yesterday, I mean, the connection and everything, we can have that conversation a different day with Sam Laporta. I don't know what's going on with that. Question to you guys, though, and to the people in the chat. It's a two-part question. And this is something that I thought about yesterday and a couple weeks ago when Taylor Decker was out and Dan Skipper came in a couple weeks ago. And it was very, very obvious. I think it was Houston, correct? Taylor Decker was out?
Yes.
And every single time they tried to run the ball to the left side, nothing. And you get to a point to where it's, we have to go to the right side. And then yesterday, and and I know we don't do PFF grades. We're not like we die in the hill, but you notice trends a little bit, right? Like you start to notice trends in grades and things like, especially with linemen, especially offensive linemen. That's probably, I think, if you took any position in the NFL and said, hey, we've used a PFF grade for this to see how they're performing, offensive lineman's probably the one that you can say, hey, how are they playing grade wise? Like, are they making their blocks? Are they giving up sacks? Are they giving up pressures? So I think that's the fairest point, or the fairest group to do it. Your lowest graded PFF offensive players yesterday, guys, the lowest one, left tackle Dan Skipper at 48. Second to last offensively, left guard Graham Glasgow at 51.1. And the third lowest, in Klotz, this is where it's like an opposite of you. I get my guy Frank plays good, and there are plays where he makes massive blocks. He's graded a 52.9, the third lowest. So you're talking about outside, if you go from Kevin Zeitler all the way to the left, those were your three lowest graded offensive players. Now, there are times, obviously, where Frank is like an outlier to where I don't know what would have happened for his grade to get that low. But if you're just looking at the left side with Graham, the second lowest, and then Dan Skipper, the lowest graded, and you're looking at pressures given up, run game, run blocking, pass blocking, all of that. I think it's fair to start saying, all right, the offensive line is what your offense is built on. My question to the boys, is there a legitimate concern if a guy on that side, if a Taylor Decker goes down long-term, this injury he has, or in the playoffs, that you're like, this is not good. Like this could not be good for a playoff run, because you could say, hey, we can run the ball to the right side. We have Penei Sewell and Kevin Zeitler and Frank on that. Like we can run it. At some point when you get into the playoffs, guys, and you get to a good defense, the Eagles, who they have a good DC. You look at Spags in the Super Bowl. They're going to find a way to just say, we're going to shut that side of the ball down. We're going to make sure you guys have to go to the left side behind Dan Skipper if there is an injury, behind Graham Glasgow. You're going to have to figure out a way to run the ball down that side. I don't know if that's Christian Mahogany getting better, and by the time playoffs come around, he steps up. If Colby Sorsdale can do it. I just want to ask you guys, weakness on the offense. Is this a legitimate concern? If you don't think so, what's the weakest link of this offense?
I mean, I'll say this. It's important for any quarterback. This isn't just selective to Jared Goff, but any quarterback, you want to make sure you protect. Like that's what matters the most. You want to make sure you protect Goff. And I think Goff not being as mobile as other quarterbacks, and he's actually shown a lot more of that lately with his mobility, a little more, a little juice outside the pocket, extending plays. But yeah, I think protecting him is number one. And also having the offensive line healthy is big for the run game, which they do. A lot of their offense is kind of predicated on, of course, play action and all sorts of things. So I would agree, like an injury to the offensive line would be catastrophic. Now it depends on what player it is, and left tackle is a pretty big deal. So to your point, Booner, it wouldn't be a good thing at all. I don't know how they kind of would have to maneuver that. Would you have Dan Skipper play? They had Graham slide to left, and I think that's where he took a dip a little bit. So I'm not sure exactly what would happen if Taylor Decker were to go down for maybe an extended period of time. I don't think it is extended, but you get my point there. I don't know what the backup plan would be, because the guys they have backing him up are young. I mean, Manu is not playing at all this year. There's no way he would probably see the field unless he absolutely has to. So, but part of me would also add that most teams probably think the same way that we do now. Like offensive line depth it's not, teams don't have it. A lot of teams don't have it. And an injury to any tackle. I mean, you saw the Vikings, they lost Darisaw with an 8. He lost him for the season, and they traded for Cam Robinson, and he got hurt. So, I mean, you saw the Vikings take a hit there watching in that game, and they struggled. So, left tackle, it's important, and the offensive line's important for protecting Goff. So, it would not be good, but I guess the only positive you would take away is they still have 4 other guys that are very good. So, I guess when you talk about the weakness of an offense being their offensive line in case there's an injury, like to me, that's still a positive thing. Like there's probably all their offenses are like, they can't run the ball, or they have receivers that can't get open, or they can't protect at all. So I think it's not a big concern. Like my thing with that is like this like week, obviously you were able to get by it winning 24-6, but like a couple weeks ago with the Texans, right?
Like, you don't have Taylor Decker, and you keep trying to run the ball to the left side. You get nothing. And Jared Goff's getting pressured all game long through the first 3 quarters. Turnovers, this, that. And yeah, you're able to make the step, and you're able to overcome the deficit and finish off and win the game. Like, you're able to figure it out because you started going behind Panay. Like, they made an emphasis, like, we have to put this on Panay's back. And they literally did that the whole game. Like, he was pulling, he was out front on every screen. They literally did that. But when you look at all right, you're up against the Chiefs and you don't have a Taylor Decker, and it's Graham and Skip on the left side, and they're giving up pressure all game long. Like, that's a recipe for disaster. Like, that's not a team. Like, there are some teams out there that aren't the Houston Texans where you're giving up that pressure and you fall behind like you did with the Texans, you're not coming back. Like, you can have the best offense, the best defense in the NFL. It's like, that's tough. So that's where it's like, it feels like the Texans, the start of the Texans game, and a little bit yesterday, when Taylor Decker went down for a little bit, there was like, whoa, what's happening, boys? Have we found because my original question was going to be, is there a defense in the NFL that can stop the Detroit Lions? And then I started looking deeper and thinking, I'm like, I might have found a hole in this offense. This might have been this might be the weakness of the offense. This might be it.
I mean, I think it would be a major concern. I understand that Taylor Decker is great, but we've even seen games where, thankfully, the Lions haven't been playing the best of opponents recently, so it hasn't been showing. But Taylor Decker has struggled, and I think in the playoffs especially, Jared Goff, he's a quarterback that has to be protected. I know, Jeff, that you said it matters a lot, and you kind of spoke on it, but for Jared Goff, for him to play at the MVP level that he's playing from, he has shown mobility, but that mobility has been after the plays developed a little bit, and he realized, I got to make a play, I got to run. If Jared Goff is under duress against a good defensive coordinator, I do think that would be their downfall, because getting back to what we talked about with the Lions defense being banged up, they're so reliant on that offensive line, chewing up clock, allowing the run game to happen. If they're getting shorter possessions and not scoring and giving ball back to the other team, and we're talking about Noah and Hutchinson, Carlton Davis banged up, and I'm just saying short term in the regular season, that can definitely affect it. So in my opinion, Taylor Decker, if he were to go down, you can't confirm it, but I would hope to God they're looking at the season that Kevin Zeitler's having right now and be like, okay, we can have Zeitler on the right side, move Panay to left, because where did Panay play in college? Left tackle. And I think eventually they're going to go down that avenue of, okay, left tackle is the most valuable position. We're paying Panay this much money. After Taylor Decker moves on, probably easier to slide Panay to left tackle and draft a guy to play right tackle. So I hope that's what they would do, but I think it'd be a major concern, Boone, because I think tackle and edge, it's basically the same thing, just on different side of the ball. That's where it all starts. So I think it'd be huge, because Taylor Decker's already struggling. You could see it, but we saw, to your point, in Houston, CJ Stroud is not playing good football. If they do that against Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, hell, even a Jalen Hurts in the NFC Championship game, I don't see them walking out of that game victorious. So they find ways to kind of scheme around it. That's why Amon-Ra is so valuable to have. You can throw a screen pass to him. My least favorite play in the NFL is a smoke screen to a wide receiver, except if it's to Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, because that's an extension of the run game. So Ben would find ways to adjust, and this offense would have success, but it's in those crucial moments where you want to score and double up before half, and the 2-minute drills in the fourth quarter where it really show up. So it would be concerning.
Yeah, I like, my question to you guys was just going to be, what's the weakness in this offense?
Yeah, no, it is.
That feels like that's what it is.
Yeah, because when we have beat writers on every week, it's the same thing. It's more, and I don't want to say it's not selective to Goff. It should be, we say it every week for opposing teams. It's pressure the quarterback. Like this week for Caleb, what do you think we're going to say? Get after the quarterback. So it's not like it's just Goff, but with Goff compared to other guys, like you see guys run outside the pocket, make plays like Lamar just kind of did actually in the game live just now. That's not his game. So protection is important. So I would agree with that. I think, yeah, it is. Now, it's tough because you watched last night's game, the Rams and Eagles, like Stafford was under duress a lot. And even that offense, like they could only do so much. They scored late, but you could see they started off pretty well. But as the Eagles kept pressure and even Stafford, who many would even say one of the best arms in the NFL, like that dude couldn't do anything. I mean, he was pressured constantly. So it's not just Goff. If you start having injuries on your offensive line, like that could derail a season.
I don't even think it's just the pressure on Goff. Like this team is like
Or the run
predicated
game.
on the run
Yeah.
game. Like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, and the Houston game, the first half, we kept seeing when we were doing the watch stream. Like we just kept seeing them trying to go to that left side, and we remember how mad we were getting. They were getting nothing. Like they could not get a yard, and it was just like, dude, they are not moving the ball at all. And then it was like when they tried to throw the ball, then Jared Goff's getting hit, and he's getting hit, or the ball's getting tipped, and it was just like that was a problem. I thought it was a legit problem. And then when Taylor went down for a little bit yesterday, you could see like there was still like there was a little issue there. I don't remember when Jared Goff got hit from behind and fumbled the ball, or got hit from, I can't remember who that was, what side that came from. But again, like
that was Panay. That was lots of
Panay. But like, all right, so that was Panay. So I don't want to get I'm not going at Panay. I'm taking a step back on that one. But you guys see what I'm saying a little bit. And I think it's more so like Graham probably hasn't been playing his best football this year. I think that's known. Like we've seen him on the list of the lowest graded PFF offensive players a couple times here throughout the year in certain games. So it's like I think that left side is, I'm interested to know, because Christian Mahogany I think was active for yesterday's game. I don't think, and maybe do you guys remember if he was on the inactive list? I think he might have been. I remember
seeing his name on there.
Which I mean, he's on the roster. Let me look it up actually, because that's kind of a good sign then, because that means like they have thought about like, hey, we could use him at some point, like, and that's where it comes to me a little bit like if Graham or Kevin or someone goes down for a game, they usually have Yodi, but even at tackle, like Skip hasn't been that great stepping in. I'm a big Skip fan, but every time he steps in, it's like he's lowest graded PFF player, and he's giving up pressure.
I just want to read this comment before you go, Klotzy. Malik says, we need to look at drafting a swing tackle and Ragnow's hair replacement in 2025. I think Manu will be Decker's eventual replacement, and Mahogany will be that left guard at some point. I actually agree with him. I think offensive line, specifically guard, center, they're going to have to pursue that in the draft this year. Now, center, number one, but I wouldn't even hate it if you just took another guard just in case anything happens, or at least another tackle or something. I would draft 2 offensive linemen in this yeast draft, honestly. At some point, like 5th, 6th round, and maybe 2nd round or something.
I was even to say that's literally what I was about to say. I was like first and 2nd round, because defensive end, you're honestly fine. Because if you keep Zadarius Smith in town and you're able to go draft a guy in the 3rd round, 4th round, be able to pick up another guy, I honestly think there's a very big chance Marcus Davenport returns, and you keep him as like the 6th man of the defensive line. Start Zadarius and Hutch. Like, you don't have a problem on the edge. You can go sign a corner. I mean, they've done it each offseason, the last 2 off seasons. Go get some young talent on that offensive line and kind of refortify the trenches which you built with this to begin with. What was the first pick of this franchise as far as the rebuild? Panay Sewell, and then you keep Frank Ragnow, and then you just keep adding these pieces. You got to rejuvenate it. We saw Jonah Jackson leave. Frank Ragnow is going to leave. Taylor Decker's going to leave in a couple of years. So that original offensive line is slowly decaying. It's time to rebuild it, and that's where it all starts. So if there's ever, like you guys talk about in the offseason, like the roof might be leaking, you got to patch it. If that roof has anything to do with the offensive line, you'd get it right away. You have to, because that's where it all starts.
Hey, and all right, I'm looking at someone, if I'm wrong, someone can correct me, but I'm 90% sure Chris Mahogany's on the 53 man on Sunday when they released their inactives. The offensive lineman on it, Giovanni Minuit, was inactive. Yodi, typically the backup guard, inactive. Who usually goes after Yodi? You guys know?
Colby.
Nice. Oh, no, Nice is tackle. He's a tackle.
Yep, Colby, inactive.
Yep, Colby.
No Christian Mahogany. So, just a thought. If a guard would have gone down in yesterday's game, was that Christian Mahogany that was going to step in? Because both Yodi and Colby were both inactive. They on Sunday they put them inactive. So that's
a good sign at least, though.
Yeah, I think I'm right. I think like we're correct on that. I don't think that was wrong. I think he was active. We can ask the doc on Wednesday, but I think that's interesting to know, or to kind of note.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the depth, I mentioned earlier, my worry is still the cornerback depth, and now you're getting Emmanuel Moseley back. Here's Dan Campbell speaking about Emmanuel Moseley. I'm curious what you guys kind of see happening with him and what his role will be with the team. But here's Dan Campbell speaking about the return of Emmanuel Moseley.
Yeah, he's ready. I mean, I think that was this game yesterday was big. I had to think about that. That was yesterday. That was big, to be able to for him, I mean, really hadn't played in 2 years, and to be able to go out there and know that, okay, I can trust this, I can trust my body. He went out there, competed, did a good job on teams for us. But yeah, I think he's ready. I think he's ready, and we're not afraid to use him.
Not afraid to use them.
It's interesting.
It's like the concealed carry right outside of your hip. You always got to be there. Always got to be there.
It's if
Man.
I'm not gonna. UK.
Dude, hey, he's potentially no Carlton Thursday. He said I don't think it looks good for a guy like Carlton. You have E-Man back. You're in a. That's huge. Like that should be a weight lifted off your chest, Jeff.
No
Kendall Vildor.
No.
I trust Emmanuel
okay,
Moseley.
how about this?
Emmanuel Moseley. I don't care if you do. I do. I trust him more than Kendall Vildor. Even coming off an injury.
I would trust Jerry Jacobs more than Kendall Vildor.
I trust a crumb more than Kendall.
So
Vildor.
You are right in theory. Like I like based on Emmanuel Moseley, you are absolutely right. You're right on a lot of corners, to be honest with you. I don't care who it is. Put him there. I trust him more than Vildor. Can we be real? Trust circle? Can we be real for a second?
All right, fair enough. Whoa, what?
He hasn't played.
What did you say, Klotz?
He hasn't played in a full game since 2022.
I said boom.
He called you Boone.
No, what I said trust circle?
Yeah.
No, I know. Boone usually says boys can have a trust circle. I said, okay, Boone, just by
He
default.
called you Boone. That was just I
But he hasn't played in a game since 2022. So if we're expecting E-Man to just come out like the Undertaker, like they come out of the coffin and just start dominating. Like I will say, Boone, to your point, he is a better option. He is a better option, absolutely, than Kendall Vildor. But here's where I disagree with Doug. He said Tim Patrick hadn't played in 2 years.
Facts. I mean, spade.
Hold on. I have a rebuttal for that.
All right,
what position's harder to play after 2 years?
That's fair.
Wide receiver or the hardest position besides quarterback? Corner. Like by the way, two like catastrophic injuries.
Okay, let's the man just tore his ACL. You're acting like it was like he broke his leg.
Achilles. I mean,
listen. He played yesterday. He got run in.
Special teams.
He got a run in.
He had a nice hit on.
It's not like he
down there.
He didn't hurt his knees this time. It was a pec injury. So it's not like his legs are good. He still
and the pec. So there's
but the difference though, Jeff, is over the last 6 months or whatever, however long it's been since he's torn his pec, he has been able, I'm sure, to keep his legs good, like fresh. His legs are probably in shape to where like your thought process is he going to do that to his knee again? Is something no.
Like, is he capable?
He is going. Yeah, yes, he's capable. He's been good. It's not like he hasn't just been doing anything off the pec injury. Now, if it was a leg injury or a knee injury, then I would say, okay, Jeff, yes, I'm with you. Like it's been 2 years, another knee injury. Like this is a problem.
He's had two of them.
Yes, he's had two, but he's been back and he was doing good in training camp. Jeff, all right, I hate to do this to you. I don't like dunking on my friends. I hate to do this to you. This man, if he did not tear his pec, you're talking about these 2 leg injuries that you're saying 2 major knee injuries, right? Or leg injuries off 2 seasons. He didn't hurt a knee or a leg anymore. Like he was starting. He was your starting nickel at training camp. After sitting, just like you said, after sitting for 2 seasons, he came in instantly and took the starting nickel job. Am I wrong? We were there at practice.
We saw a lot of things.
That was consistent, and that was told by report. That was very consistent. He was the starting nickel for weeks until that pec got hurt. Him and Amik were going back and forth, and every rep that we saw, it was always Emmanuel Moseley, E-Man. And Dan said it. Everyone was saying, hey, he looks good. And then he did his pec. It's not like he did his knee. His legs are underneath him. He is good. He is going to be in shape. They let him get loose a little bit on Sunday in special teams to get a feel back for the game. This man came into training camp, to your point again, Jeff. This is your words, not mine. Off 2 years of not playing football, and instantly jumped in at the starting nickel position. Instantly. So now you're looking at it and you're going, now I would get it, Jeff, if this was like a Terrion Arnold or an Ennis Rakestraw, where you're like, hey, this is a rookie. He hasn't been able to play. He, a couple of years injured. He hasn't got a feel for this. Is a veteran in the NFL who has started a bunch of games in the NFL, knows what this league's about. He is ready to go. He was the starting nickel in training camp, Jeff, before he went down.
And how quick was it, Boone? When was it?
Oh, well, how long he was out for? Oh, instantly.
Instantly.
He was starting instantly in training camp. So I'm sorry. I hate to, you know what? By the way, I left. I'll be right back. I have to go. I'm sorry. I had to dunk
Boone,
on you.
I gotta
10 seconds.
Real quick before you go, real quick.
I left something in the freezer, a drink in the freezer.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, you go ahead. You can go.
I was going to say, I think CPO talking here.
Okay.
Somebody's getting rid off. Jeff likes to write off players a lot. And usually when they get written off, when he's getting rid off, somebody needs a little pickup. And where's a better play to be picked up on than the path?
Emmanuel Moseley's on the Booner path. Official.
I like it. Glad we can get that covered because I don't need to say anything when you cook.
No, that's fine. You don't have to, because I'll say this. I think Emmanuel Moseley is I don't want to act like he just forgot how to play football. Obviously, he can't. I want people to keep in mind what he's dealt with. I know the pec injury, but like Tre'Davious White, shell of himself.
But where's
Achilles,
he at? He's on the outside.
He's been passed around more than a joint. I mean, he's been passed around everywhere.
But what gives me hope, and I think this is why it's pivotal that we talk about Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn being a former DB, he's not gonna be like, E-man, 3 major injuries, go on the outside. No, what he did is he moved him to nickel, because nickel, you're not having to move the knees, the hips, everything is much more in front of you, short range of motion, and he's long. And where he'll be very good is the run game. Emmanuel Moseley blowing up screen passes, which when you look at all the RPOs the Eagles are going to run, the
that's
Bills
better
are going to
suited for him. I agree. Nickel.
And that's where I think he's not going to be the Emmanuel Moseley of old. But I think when you talk about with Vildor's out there, move Amik Robertson on the outside. I know he's 5'9", but in Vegas, he still played outside. He has experience doing that better than Vildor. And you have a guy, Emmanuel Moseley, who hasn't played much on the nickel back, but being an outside corner, it gives you that experience of, okay, coverage-wise, I know what's happening. And he was so good against the run on the outside. He'll be fine in that nickel spot. I'm confident. I trust him.
That's fine. And okay. And Wheezy D, you're being disingenuous. Zadarius Smith we're not comparing Emmanuel Moseley to Zadarius Smith.
I think Wheezy D, that's Kendall Vildor's burner. I'm pretty sure.
No. And Wheezy D, I get, it's not just that's not the point. I'm not saying guys that have been traded just can't play football. My point is the catastrophic.
Kendall Vildor's burner.
Oh no, Wheezy D, no, you don't want Kendall Vildor to play.
Confirmed.
Let me just say, and Booner, you just left. What I was explaining to Klotz is not that I think Moseley forgot how to play football and he's just no. It's specifically playing outside corner. I want people to kind of temper the expectations. Like he's, that's all. Like he's not. I remember watching the 49ers and I was like, dude, Emmanuel Moseley is good, like very good. I just think now, like Lucas put it so well, I think he's best fit at nickel. I think that's a good spot for him. I would trust Amik outside.
I will say this, and I can say this very, very confidently. I'm at a point in my life to where
You're at a point in your life. Yeah,
I'm at a point in my life. All right,
Siri,
I'm sorry.
Siri goes.
Yes, I'm at a point in my life to where I heartedly trust Aaron Glenn. So if Aaron Glenn puts him on the outside, I know it's the right move. If Aaron Glenn moves Amik over and puts him in nickel, it's the right move. Jeff, very smart football mind you have over there. Hey, but if AG says, hey, Emmanuel Moseley can play outside here, corner, and he's wrong. All right. AG, you deserve respect after the last 4 weeks. I'm all in.
Breaking news: Jeff does not respect Aaron Glenn.
Whoa! I did not say that, Jeff. That was not me.
Yeah, I'm not going to, obviously push back on that comment. Aaron Glenn, clearly, great defensive mind. But I think Aaron Glenn, being the smart defensive mind he is, will not put Emmanuel Moseley on the outside, and he'll be playing nickel. I think that makes more sense. And do I know more than AG? Do I know more than AG? Absolutely not. But I think theoretically that makes more sense. He was playing nickel at training camp. He was battling for the starting nickel, and now hasn't played in 2 years. And you're like, all right, go guard DJ Moore. It's like, I don't think that is going to happen. You know what I mean?
Hey, be careful what you say, because you could be like, I think he's a smart enough mind for him not to do that. And then if he does it, that's a clip that's going to be really, so you don't think he's a smart defensive mind. That's a tough one.
And then whoever's on him will go for 180 yards, and then you can clip it all you want. So
what if he just locks up?
No, like this week, like, think about it though. Like this week, like, would you rather have him on, to Jeff's point, DJ Moore, or Keenan Allen in the slot? And I'm sure at some point he's covered Keenan Allen, because both.
I would want him in the slot for sure.
Yeah, I think that's just where he's best fit. Especially and then DJ Moore, you put him on the outside, and he's not the tallest wide receiver. You can put Amico out there.
Yeah, I would put him at nickel. Perfect spot for Emmanuel Moseley. And then you could put, Amik and Taron Arnold on the outside. And then, but Amik, the thing is, you got two big receivers there, which we'll get to tomorrow. I mean, DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, big guys, like 6'2". And Amik's, got heart. But he's 5. What is he, 5'9", maybe 5'10", I want to say. That. So he's played up before. I mean, he's played against, but he guarded Rashee Rice. I mean, he's guarded bigger guys. So I don't think it'll be the end of the world there. All right. Yeah. Well, you know what? Good conversation. I thought that was a good conversation. We got into it. All right. And I did want to bring this up because we talked to Kory about it earlier. You see the Lions potentially, I made a video on it today. Daniel Jones backup potentially for the season. And I want to make this very clear. I made a video earlier. And people were commenting like, what, you're giving up on Hendon Hooker? I stated in the video multiple times. And I guess, I don't want to get this narrative cleared up. Just because, and I'll speak for people too, just because you're open to the idea of bringing in Daniel Jones does not mean you are just out on Hendon Hooker. Okay. Those two things don't.
You gave up on Hendon Hooker quick, man.
Yeah. That's what people were commenting like, oh, Jeff, you can't give up. No, this is how I look at it. Very simple. You bring in Daniel Jones. He can back up Jared. He's had plenty more starts than Hendon Hooker. I mean, Hendon Hooker's never started. So he's had multiple seasons starting at quarterback. He's played in playoff games. And the two things he had with the Giants where he was playing well was good coaching to some extent and a good running back. The Lions have, and he was never protected, which hurt him. He has protection. He has the run game. He has the offensive mind. I would be comfortable with Daniel Jones over a 2-3 game stretch. Like Kory said, if Jared's out for the season, I mean, we're talking something different here. But I think Daniel Jones would be a fine backup if you brought him in. And if he leaves, you get a compensatory pick. So I don't know why I butchered that. Compensatory pick. Still trying. There you go. I don't know why. Hey, a little tongue twister there.
I will say
I think that it makes too much sense not to bring him in, and you can keep 3 quarterbacks, and then cut someone off the back end there. I know it stinks, but that's how you're going to have to do it.
Jake Fromm. Easy.
Get rid of Jake Fromm. Get him out of here.
I'm with that. Get that man out of town. Bring Daniel Jones. I think people just think of Daniel Jones quickly as like a bad quarterback. Then again, like I said this on the pregame show when we talked about it yesterday a little bit. He was in New York, and I asked you guys a legit wide receiver outside of Malik Neighbors, who he had for less than 10 games and as a rookie. And I know he's a great receiver, but he's a rookie again. What wide receiver? Klotz, I know you name a couple. Don't even name the ones. What wide receivers that are actually good has Daniel Jones had on the New York Giants?
Wandale Robinson, come on, don't
Who else? That's not even no.
Darius Slayton.
Let's be serious. Like legit. Who else? Who has he ever had?
The only one would be his rookie year with Golden Tate. That'd be the only.
And Golden Tate was like older at that point. Like
Daniel Jones threw for 30 touchdowns, damn near.
Yeah, he did, but again, like he hasn't had anyone, and he's had Saquon. But again, he hasn't had any real receiving targets and a good offense and a good deep. He hasn't had a team around him besides maybe the year they went to the playoffs, and that was just kind of an off year. So I don't think Daniel Jones is as bad as people make him out to be, and I think next year there's going to be a team in the NFL, whether it's like Vegas or whoever it is, that's going to say, hey, like we need a starting quarterback. You can step in. Like if Sam Darnold's starting in the NFL right now, or if Ryan Tannehill had, or if I'm trying to think of if like
Nick Mullins.
Yeah, like there are quarterbacks that have started in the NFL over the last 2 years that it's like Daniel Jones, talent-wise is night and day better than these guys. Like night and day. Like the man's he's got the legs to be able to run, and he has the arm. Like he has the talent. It's like he's been in such a bad position. Like if you put him on the 49ers for the next few years, I'm sure Kyle Shanahan and those weapons, they'll be able to win a lot of football games, and they'll still be contenders. And you probably get him cheaper than you would have to re-sign Brock Purdy for, because he's in the second leg of his career. So yeah, I mean, and especially if you look at it for the Lions this year, you probably have to pay him, like you bring him on, and you probably have to. I don't even know what the price would be. My guess would be like at least $800,000 or less than $1 million that you would have to pay for him, because the Giants probably take their whole salary. So if you're looking at like a backup, Jeff, I told you this. Say Jared Goff gets a concussion or something happens in the game, if you have Daniel Jones on your roster, you have the best backup in the NFL, like the best. You have a starting caliber backup. And you give him the weapons that the Lions have, and you give him the offensive line and the running backs, hand the ball off to those guys, he'll be able to go out there and win you a game and finish a game if you need it. Or say in the playoffs, Goff has to miss, like knock on wood, has to miss a wild card or a divisional. I'm not like, whoa, we're gonna automatically win. I'm still like, okay, you have a backup that's able to help you out and be able to give you a chance to continue this run. So yeah, I think it's something every contender looks at is a guy like Daniel Jones. And I don't know what the comp picks do, guys. I've been researching them, and I've had people in comments say stuff. I don't think if you sign a guy, and if he walks, you automatically get a pick, a comp pick. I think what it is, and from what I've taken from reading some stuff, I think it's if you bring in more, if you lose more players than you bring in free agency. So say like you lose 4 players that re-sign with different teams in free agency, and you only bring in 2, then I think you get a certain amount of comp picks. So that's why it is valuable to bring a guy in on a 1-year deal, or bring a guy in on a
he'll sign
1-year trade. Yeah, because like essentially you're probably not going to sign him. You know that's just a rental, to where that adds on another player that's going to leave and sign with a different team. So you want to try and get as many of those guys as you can to add more draft picks. So I don't know if Brad's how many free agents he'll get, or how many guys are going to end up walking, but it just gives you that opportunity to potentially. I just want to make that clear with people, because last time when we were talking trade deadline, I had mentioned you automatically get one. You don't. It adds to that list of players that you potentially could get a comp pick.
Yeah, I think the other thing that goes along with Daniel Jones is he's just a completely different look at quarterback than Jared Goff is. So say Jared Goff did go down for a game. Now you insert a guy who's mobile in Daniel Jones. The defense is not going to have any clue on how to stop it. Then that's the attractive part about Hendon Hooker too. But even Hendon Hooker, he's going to stay more in the pocket than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones can give you some real playmaking ability, and say knock on wood. Like if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl one, what was Carson Wentz? He was a mobile quarterback making big explosive play. He goes down. Now you have a pocket passer, Nick Foles. So in that short time, especially in the playoffs, it's harder to game plan for him. When you look at what Daniel Jones could bring, I'm not saying that Daniel Jones would be playing like Nick Foles and running the Philly special out there, but he's definitely going to make it harder for the defense to game plan for, because when you get Daniel Jones run out of the pocket, he can go pick up 20 yards scrambling, and then if not, you can find Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. It'd be a completely different type of situation. So I think insurance-wise, like you guys have already said, he would be the best backup in the league. He's going to start another time in the NFL at some point and win some games. He has everything you want in a quarterback. He really does. Like size, athlete. He just wasn't able to put it together.
Yeah, I think what hurts Hendon is he just doesn't have the experience. Like, that's the only thing. Like, I love the potential of what he can be, but you're telling me in a playoff game, like to Boone's point, like Jared goes down with a concussion, he's out for a week or whatever the circumstances are, like late in the season. Like, trust me, you guys know me. I would even admit, like, that's a tough spot to put Hendon in. I know he would say, I'm built for this. Like, I'm ready for
without
this.
playing a real NFL game.
Without ever playing a game, he would step in there and start in a playoff game or whatever the circumstances are. Like, that's tough. That's tough. And I would fully support it. And if you think Hendon Hooker right now is better than Daniel Jones, then that's your opinion. I don't know. I think Hendon Hooker has all the talent, but we've never seen him play in a game besides preseason, and he looked good. But you're basically banking on that happening, which again, I'm with the confidence. I love the confidence. But at least with Daniel, you know what he is. You know what he is. You've seen how many starts has he had in the league. I mean, I'll check right now how many total starts he's had. He's played, 5 seasons? He started for the New York Giants, and I'll get you that number right now. 70 games. 70 starts. Yeah. 70 starts, man. And he's beat the Vikings in a playoff game. Even more enticing. So
I'll say too, he's never had an offense like the Lions offense. So if you need him as a backup, he's played 70 games. He knows what it's about. He has the experience, and he's never played on a team this good
an
before.
offensive line. Like the offensive line he had in the Giants.
The weapons.
If he came to Detroit, you would see the best version of Daniel Jones you've ever seen. Like it would look like night and day difference.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think we're all let's see. Wheezy D says, will that Sam Darnold apology be in written or writing or video form? I don't know what that means.
What apology?
He cut up yesterday. He looked good. Maybe that's what he's saying. I don't know.
No, I think Sam Darnold's he's a fine quarterback. That's what he is. I know Colin Cowherd glazes him, but he's not. You know what the Vikings are going to do, right? They're going to be like, all right, let's go to JJ McCarthy after this season, and that'll be it for Sam Darnold, and he'll be on another team. So we'll see.
West Coast ethos, guy that just knows knows how to read a defense, does everything you ask him.
Yeah. First one in, last one out.
He's like the real estate agent, like some wild comparison.
Yeah. I want to get to our studs and duds. I want to get your opinion on that before we move down here, because I did think it was something we had to at least address. We all are on the same page, so not much to really dive into there. We'll get to your Kool-Aid. Honestly, Boone, we'll just do your Kool-Aid thing after this. We'll just see how the time kind of goes here.
Can we just do the Kool-Aids now?
Do you want to do it?
Yeah, because if I do studs or duds, my studs are going to be my Kool-Aid. So there's no point of doing that. Of that.
All right. So again, the order. Well, let me put. Hold on 1 second. Let me do this. I think
you know the order, brother.
All right.
I'll tell you no. If you put the first one up, I'll just say nope. Next. All right, hold on. All right, Kool-Aid. Hey, here we go. All right, Kool-Aid Jugs of the week. Everyone knows we're basically giving out game balls here. Booner's Kool-Aid Jugs of the week. Dan Campbell give his game balls out. I'm giving mine out today. We're doing that again. The guys that I have today, Klotz.
Okay, Boone.
We've got returning winners. We've got people that are going for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th Kool-Aid Jugs of the week. Jeff Iafrate for the first Kool-Aid Jug of the week. By the way, too, I don't have one here because we drank them all yesterday. Everyone drank my beer yesterday. Brought to you by Real American Beer. Hey, best beer on the planet right there. Real American Beer. This segment's brought to you by Real American Beer. Kool-Aid Jugs of the week. Jeff Iafrate, give me the first one of the week.
Talk to me, Boone.
Jameer Gibbs. Give me Jameer Gibbs, first Kool-Aid Jug of the week.
Come on now, Boone.
Yeah, this is a great one.
Guys, I don't know what else to say about the guy. I really don't know what else to say about this guy, Jameer Gibbs. I posted it, and I'll say what? Later in the night, Saquon might have had one of the best games I've ever seen out of a running back. I posted, I thought Jameer Gibbs is the best running back in the game right now. Maybe Saquon's having an MVP-type year as a running back. But Jameer Gibbs right now, we've talked about it in the offseason all the time, that he was a top 5 running back, this, that. There is a category right now of 3 running backs this year in the NFL. Sorry, Christian McCaffrey. As of right now, you're on the sideline. Give me Derrick Henry, Saquon, and Jameer Gibbs in no order. That's the 3-headed monster of the top 3 running backs in the NFL right now, and it isn't even close. It is not even close. Stats line up to it. Everything lines up to it. Jameer Gibbs has been one of the best running backs in the game of football right now. That is 99 all-purpose yards yesterday, fellas. 4.1 yards per touch. And 2 tutties. 2 touchdowns, fellas. Jameer Gibbs, I think, guys, this might be like his 4th or 5th one of the year. This man just keeps stacking them up. Stacks them up.
Dog, Boone.
He is an absolute dog.
To add on to that real quick, Jeff Iafrate did announce during the live watch party he would, in fact, re-sign Jahmyr Gibbs.
He would re-sign. Yep, he would. All right, give me the next one, Jeff. Here we go. Number 2, sponsored by Real American Beer, best beer in the world. Kool-Aid Jug of the Week, number 2. Yes, you got it right, Jeff. Jack Campbell. I will say this, and I'll give credit where credit's due. Malcolm Rodriguez got the game ball from Dan Campbell. He had 7 solo tackles, did a great. Guys, Jack Campbell, I said it yesterday before the show. He needed to step up without Anzo. Green dot. This man is one of the best linebackers in the entire NFL. He is number 2. Hold on, let me get it. Oh, it tastes so good. Kool-Aid tastes so good. Number 2, 9 solo tackles, 9 total tackles, 5 solo, and 2 pass deflections, guys. I don't even know if those stats even do it justice. Every time we were watching, and then the Lions were on defense, fellas, and we kept saying his name because he was flying around everywhere. He was literally everywhere. We need, like, this man is unbelievable. This is one of the best linebackers in the NFL right now. And then you throw in Anzo when he gets back, Rodrigo. I'm getting to a point where I'm saying that Jack Campbell is going to take over that position for Alex Anzalone next year. I think next year's, maybe not at the end of the season, but next year is the time. Jack Campbell gets the second Kool-Aid Jug of the Week, fellas.
I love this. Jack Campbell, well deserved. I didn't even know the 2 pass deflections. I know he almost had the pick, but that's a good game, man. Damn.
No, you pointed out the one time, Jeff. He laid out for the one.
Yeah, he gave it his all out there. That was the pick I wanted.
Oh, number 3! Everyone's like, hey, the people with the headphones, I apologize. When your Booner segment comes up, you better turn it down a little bit. Hey, the man himself, the man on the hour, Aaron effing Glenn, baby. Hey, I'm not trucking this whole thing right now. Oh my gosh. Hey, I wish I could do a Kool-Aid Jug with this man. Aaron Glenn right now, fellas, there is no one that deserves a Kool-Aid Jug in a Kool-Aid more than Aaron Glenn. This man is the best defensive coordinator in the NFL right now, guys. He gave up 6 total points yesterday. This is a defense that has been riddled with injuries. No Anzo yesterday. Aiden Hutchinson hurt. Half of the other D-line, of the other side of the D-line, all gone. Carlton Davis going down at a point. No Terrion Arnold yesterday. No Germ. No Derek Barnes. Everyone hurt. Guess what? Aaron, look at that man just sit there. Oh, you guys want to take all half of my starters? I'll figure out a way to win this game. I'll hold them to 6 total points. Guys, in the last 10 quarters of football, that man right there and his defense have given up 0 touchdowns. Know how hard that is to do in the NFL? That's that's basically 2.5 football games.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah. That doesn't
Bags
happen.
is letting up 27 of Bryce Young.
Exactly. That is almost 2.5 total football games in the NFL that this man's defense, with a million injuries, has not given up a touchdown. If anyone deserves, and guys, Ben Johnson's the best OC in the NFL. Aaron Glenn's the best DC in the NFL. You have 2 of the best coordinators in the NFL. And I'm going to say this now. The assistant coach of the year, coordinator of the year, guess who that goes to as of right now? This man right here, Aaron Glenn. 3 straight second half shutouts on top of that as well. Like, this man has been on a different level. He has been, like, I can't stop saying that, with the injuries, to be able to do what he's doing right now is incredible. Aaron Glenn, I wish we can give you $100 million to stay in Detroit next year. I'll give you another Kool-Aid Jug next week. Cheers, Aaron.
Love it, Boone.
Didn't mean to call him. I don't want to call him Aaron. Cheers, Coach. Sorry, that was disrespectful.
Hey,
Yeah.
Cheers, Coach.
Come on,
All right.
dude.
Those are the 2 Kool-Aids. No 4th one this week, fellas. Just 3.
Hey,
Yeah,
just so
I mean,
because we're on
I
the
have
subject,
to end it with AG.
and I agree, Boone. While we're on the subject, and I know we've had this combo, but kind of just update what are we thinking. We had a conversation, especially at the beginning, the first 4 games of the season. Who do you think as a coordinator? I think through totality, Ben Johnson has shown through more seasons he's the better coordinator through the first 3 seasons. But this year, 2024, 2025, who has been better, Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn?
Aaron Glenn.
I agree.
I think they're both, like, up there. I think they're both literally the best. I think outside of taking away like play callers, just OC, DC specifically, I think they've been the best offensive coordinator, best defensive coordinator. Not like package. I'm saying like on their own, number one in the NFL.
And that, yeah, you have to take into consideration he lost his best defensive player too. Like that. I mean, that has to.
You could say Spags, or you could say, was it Vic Fangio over? Is that who it is in Philly?
Philly. Yeah.
Yeah, like you could say there's some coaches who have been what's his name over in
Denver.
In Denver. Yeah, he's been killed. Like there have been some dudes, but when you look at like the injuries that AG's had, and like going 10 quarters without a touchdown, straight quarters, that's 2.5 games. Going 3 straight second halves, like that's crunch time football without giving up a point. Without giving up a point in 3 straight second halves, that's incredible.
A touchdown.
No, second halves. They have not given up a point. Jeff, they have held 3 straight teams scoreless in the second half of football.
Even better than I thought. I thought
3 straight teams in the second half scoreless. That is like like that. Some teams don't do that all year. And he did it 3 straight weeks with all these injuries. It's incredible.
Not even all year. Teams don't do that just in decade spans. Like the Detroit Lions probably haven't done that since 1990, like Kory was talking about. So it's amazing to see. It is. I wonder, like, if that, because a rookie quarterback coming in town, defensive-minded head coach, there's a chance, especially in the second half, depending on how it looks, if the Lions keep rolling, keep that streak right up in that second half.
I'm interested to see what you guys have here for studs and duds, because we'll go through. We do our Wednesdays winners and losers of the weekend. Later in the week, we do it in the middle of the week. We'll do it on Wednesday, but that's more generic. Like we don't do just Detroit sports. We're going to talk more winners and losers in general. Studs and duds just from that game itself. It could be Lions. It could be Colts. Who are you guys' studs and duds?
Klotz,
you want to start with studs? We'll do studs first. We'll go to duds.
Yeah, I mean, you guys already heard my 3 studs, so I'll let you guys do your studs.
Go ahead, Klotz.
You brought up one linebacker and Jack Campbell. I'm going to bring up David Long. No, I'm kidding. Malcolm Rodriguez. Rodriguez had a game. He was first in team. Me and Jeff talked about it earlier on Bleacher Report, but 7 solo tackles led the team. But stepping up whenever it seems like Malcolm Rodriguez's number is called, not only does he step up, but he looks like he's been there before, and he continues to shine. You see that man was a high school wrestling champion in high school. Like the way he just is able to bring runners to the ground and shut plays down. It's amazing. What Kelvin Shepherd has done with him as a 7th-round pick coming out of Oklahoma State. They use him at fullback at time, but Malcolm Rodriguez just, I think, when you go back to a culture guy and why it's actually very important to have those type of guys, it's for situations like we saw on Sunday when you're going up against Anthony Richardson, when you're going up against Jonathan Taylor, and you're able to bring those guys down right away. With Jack Campbell playing that level, Malcolm Rodriguez right behind him, it does. That's where I talk about it doesn't kill you to miss Alex Anzalone the rest of the season because you have a guy like Malcolm Rodriguez. So my first stud of the week, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, great game on Sunday.
I'll go my first stud. I got to go with this guy specifically, but I don't want it to take away from a guy who plays right alongside him. So it's just tough, but I'm going to go with DJ Reader. I think DJ Reader on Sunday was wrecking the game in many different ways. I think his pass rush ability was on display, and you're seeing it at times. But I thought DJ Reader's impact in the run game was so important. It's going to be important for the rest of the season. But I thought what they did to Jonathan Taylor, they put that man in a jail cell and threw away the key. I mean, his season low in rushing yards, that's incredible. And again, Ali McNeil deserves just as much credit, but I'm going to give credit to the guy that was brought here specifically to do that, and that was DJ Reader. And you saw that with Cincinnati when he was there. His impact, he makes everyone around him so much better. So for my stud, I'm going to go with DJ Reader because he was even in that backfield a little bit too, making plays. So that's something that DJ Reader, he brings that to the table now.
Yeah.
It takes it up a whole nother level.
That pass that I missed to Alec Pierce, Boone was big on it during the stream too. But if DJ Reader wasn't there and Anthony Richardson was trying to step up in the pocket, that pass to Alec Pierce probably would have been on target. And that would have been a big play because that was in the first quarter. Colts were up 3-0. That would have put him back in field goal range, Matt Gay range, and he probably would have put up some points there. So big plays by DJ Reader on Sunday. A Boone, first stud.
Yeah, hold up, guys. I'm putting out a fire real quick.
Putting out a fire. Anyways, I'll go to my second. Do you want to do another stud or duds?
I got a dud. I mean,
all right, go for it. Get it out the way.
Should I mean, I
Double
think
down. Double down.
dud isn't even. It doesn't describe how bad it really was. Like dud, it's not dud. It's dookie. It's what's
Poo-poo.
worse than poo-poo. It's I mean, it's terrible. I mean, you have to go with Kindle Vildor. I mean, that's like the obvious one. And I want to think of another one, but I have another one besides him, which I'll let you go. But like, I'll just get the obvious out of the way. Like the dud of the entire game was Kindle Vildor. He just had a terrible game. Terrible game.
Yeah, no, that was the glaring obvious one. I'm glad you could double down with your narrative so it fits. But I think another one, and kind of, I said Demont last week, and it's not so much him as a player, but the situation. I think same thing kind of going with Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta is going to be my dud of the week. Well, we're all kind of big on him going scoring and finding the end zone this week. But you saw they tried to get plays designed to him, but it just looked like coming off the line of scrimmage, he just doesn't look right. So I think when you look at Sam Laporta, that's not a performance you usually expect. It's not like he was terrible out there, but he just does not look right. So if I had to pick a dud on the offense side of the ball as far as the playmaker goes, I'm not going to pick Leaf. I'm not going to pick Amon-Ra. I'm not going to pick J-Mo. Demont fell in the end zone. Jameer got in the end zone twice. Jared Goff had for over 300 yards. It's got to be Sam Laporta. So Laporta will bounce back, but I think this Sunday did disappoint.
Yeah, he was a dud. Man, Boone, you want to give your dud before I give this one, or go ahead?
You guys just keep rolling real quick, please.
Okay.
I'm just trying to. I'm sorry.
No worries. No
You're
worries.
good,
I got you. I got you. So let me tell you about the last one I got here, and this one should be an obvious. I don't know if this man has a future in the league. I don't know. And I'm not, obviously, if I knew that, I'd be a general manager. So I'm not the guy that really dictate that. But in my opinion, from what I've seen throughout his NFL career, I don't see a path, at least being a franchise quarterback for Anthony Richardson. That man was an absolute dud. Like, he had a completion percentage, and you went through it earlier, Klotzy. I mean, 11 of 28. 11 of 28. You said 39%?
Yeah.
That's what Malik Beasley is shooting from three this year. Like, I mean, I'm serious. That's how bad. That's what Malik Beasley is shooting from three. Shout out to the Pistons, by the way. One on a last second Jaden Ivey field goal. But Anthony Richardson, you could see the arm talent, but guys, we've seen guys with arm talent, and they just don't pan out. Accuracy is an issue. It's still an issue. It's always an issue. And you saw early in the game, I know the penalties, there were some plays that were called back, but like, and we mentioned it earlier, like I like some of the stuff that Anthony Richardson showed at times, but I just think, man, collectively, he's either going to have to sit for another year or two, and then you could see. But based on what we've seen, I know we beat the Jets, but everyone's beating the Jets. They're getting past round two, speaking of that. So it's not that I'm not going to crown him because of that. He's a dud at this point. Yeah. Could he change? Absolutely. We've seen guys that look like busts and then they turn into great quarterbacks. But from what I've seen out of Anthony Richardson so far in his career, and especially on Sunday, no touchdowns. That was bad. 11 of 28 is bad.
Yeah, absolutely it's bad. But you see the flashes. But the Colts, they do just need a guy like. You couldn't even blame them if they won and they signed a veteran quarterback that they could win with right now. Like they went and signed
get Sam Darnold. Get Sam Darnold.
Yeah, like I literally, perfect. Like if they were to go get a Geno Smith-esque type of quarterback, because they're not in a where they have to win now mode. But you look at Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman's dealing with injuries. A lot of guys in that defensive front are getting a little bit up there in age. So they're in a position where they kind of need to win now, but they don't have to. And Anthony Richardson obviously isn't clicking yet. So I can't hate it. But yeah, I don't really have any more duds to point out there. I mean, offensively for the Colts, I mean, Michael Pittman, I guess, but he's dealing with a back injury. Josh Down was doing his thing. Alec Pierce was getting open.
I thought we did a good job. I thought we nailed all of them.
Cleaned up well.
Hey, by the way, Monday night we bet on that J.K. Dobbins TD. He is questionable to return. That stinks. But he got the 40 yards.
Which one's live, though? You know which one's live? Gus Bus.
He was at plus 390 yesterday. I was appalled. I looked at it. I thought of you immediately. I was like, Klotz would take this right now. And it went down to 310. People were hammering the Gus Bus TD. This is before JK went down. So now it's probably like plus 140 or something.
Something like that, yeah.
It's probably super low. I should have got it at fucking 390, bro. That's crazy. For a guy who plays to get a touchdown, a guy who had 10 last year, 390. I couldn't believe it. Good Monday Night Football game. Battle of the Harbaughs.
I didn't even think about that either till I was like, oh, wow, I guess both of them are coaching. But, yeah, it's good. Did you see that Lamar throw?
No, I didn't. I don't have the
Yeah,
game.
it was a great throw, by the way, to the end.
By the way, I need 200 yards passing from Lamar in a parlay.
That was probably 60 of it.
That
need some Zay Flowers too, Jeff. We need some Zay
Some
Flowers.
Zay Flowers.
He just got a big catch, like a 40-yard catch. He might have just hit his line.
Hey, me and Boone,
I don't know.
I wanted Boone. I said send me a parlay. He sent me a parlay. It was a great parlay. The only thing I looked at was Zay Flowers, and you would know more about this Klotz. I looked at that line. I said I can't trust that man. I don't know what it is with Zay Flowers. He'll have these games.
He's hot or cold, man.
He can have a $150 or he can have
19.
Yeah, 19. It's like
He's one of those where I usually do catches, but even that can fucking burn you.
I mean, he's 2 for 47 right now. So like that's like 2 catches for 4. He had his over-under was like 5.5. We need 58.5. We need 59.
You probably get it.
All right. ETN asks, Mailbag, whose emergence has been the most surprising for the Lions? I like that. Great question.
Surprising.
Yeah.
Josh Pascal. That's easy. Like he's splitting double teams. He's throwing tight ends to the ground, drawing holding calls on what would be 40-yard gains. He's containing the run great. He's even gotten to the quarterback a couple of times. Every week, even after injury, like he got banged up for 2 weeks. He was playing good before, but then they acquire Zadarius Smith. It gives him better situations. He's looking more and more as the season goes on. I don't think he'll ever reach that second round potential, but he's a guy that you can live with being taken in the second round because him and Levi were kind of like the misses for Brad when you look at the first couple rounds of the picks. Like they hit Kirby Joseph in the third round, but then you're like, Levi Onwuzurike and Josh Pascal. Both guys cannot stay on the field, but both guys for the most part are staying on the field and they're holding their own and making plays. So Josh Pascal to me.
That's actually a really good one. That's a really good one. I'm trying to think of like a surprise. I mean,
For me, because it depends on the narrative. Like Booner wouldn't say this because he always believed in him, but me would be Levi Onwuzurike. I mean, and he hasn't played great lately, but he's the fact that he's playing snaps right now in November. I never would have thought would happen.
Both of those guys, to be honest,
I never would have thought. And I liked Pascal for a while, but I thought Levi would be honestly, boys, like potentially like gone by now. Like I didn't think he would even be playing, and he has a sack and a half on the year. Like that's a sack and a half more than I thought he would have. So I would say Levi Onwuzurike, all seriousness.
I mean, I want to say I'm trying to think like Jack, but I felt like Jack was going to take a jump. Rodrigo, but we've seen what he could do already. Like we knew what he was. I'm trying to think.
That should be a good one, Boone. Timmy P.
Tim Patrick's a good one. Yeah, I mean, he's been like good in certain spots.
A good one, Klotzy. Jake Bates
for Klotz.
Yeah, it would be. I would even guys like I'd say even like Kirby. Like I expected him to have a good year, but I did not expect that man to be arguably the second best safety in football. I called, and you guys did as well, Brian Branch being one of the better safeties, but Kirby Joseph to lead the league, you could say, yeah, but at this point, what does he have? 7 interceptions?
He might have.
He's probably going to get at least 1 or 2 more, and he always has those games through the season where he'll get 2 or 3 in one fucking game. So he's going to be up there with like. He'll hold the record because I'm pretty sure he's tied with Darius Slay right now, if not Glover Quinn, for most interceptions in franchise history. I don't know because what did Night Train Lane have? Night Train Lane had a lot.
Oh, so dude, he had like 14 in a year.
So it might have been at least since then, but he's going to be up there as far as all time in Lions history in the season.
Let me see. Actually, let me check. Night Train Lane. I remember looking a while. Yeah, I mean he had 14 his rookie year. My gosh.
Night Train Lane. Imagine Gus Johnson on a Night Train Lane call.
Yeah, take a ride on the night train.
Yeah, he had another one on that Caleb Downs punt return. World famous. Right as he crossed the line. Come on.
No, he didn't.
Have you seen the stuff? Have you seen the stuff with Gus Edwards to where people like the last couple of months have been like, "Hey, Gus
Johnson.
Gus Johnson. I'm sorry, Gus. Yeah, I put the bet in for Gus Edwards. By the way, that's what made me think. I put 10 on him. But with Gus Johnson, where people are like, "Hey, take a step back a little bit. Like you're too obnoxious." And then he had a game a couple weeks ago to where he was just like, touchdown Ohio State, touchdown
I know
Buckeyes.
Exactly.
And there was like a clip that came out, and it was like a highlight of his whole game, the Ohio State game a couple weeks ago. And he was just like, you could tell like he just like took a step back, and it was like people were like, Gus, like you can't let the people get in your head like that to where you just do it. And then he's kind of turned it back on.
Oh, it was the Purdue game. It was the Purdue game.
It might have been the Purdue game. Yeah.
I remember because I remember it was literally like it was like not a crazy touchdown. It was a nice play, and I was like, Gus hates Ohio State, bro. Like
Everyone was like, "What's going on with him?"
Yeah, I was like, "What's going on right now?" It was the Purdue game.
It
And
ain't
then Mockabee, whatever his name is from Purdue, like did something, and he kind of was like, "Mockabee, open field," and then they didn't score a touchdown the whole game, and you would have thought that they were doing something.
Gus has some of the most legendary calls. Some trending for maybe the
People
wrong,
hate him. Some people
but
hate him.
but
Crazy.
he's my favorite. I mean, him and Joel. You guys know how I feel about Joel, but those two together, love. Though that's a duo right there.
They need
If
a
they're in the
Gus.
booth,
That's a guy.
now that
Gus and
John
Joel on
Gruden.
Thursday Night Football would feed families.
oh my god,
Wait, what?
Gus and Joel Klatt in Thursday Night Football booth.
No.
Give
put
me
him in
that.
the NFL.
I'm a Herb Street guy. I'm in on him. He does a great job. He's 100 times
he's
better
not
than Joe
bad.
Klatt.
Okay,
Maybe not
that's
100. Maybe not
wild.
100. But he knows
Kirk
way
Herbstreit?
more ball. He knows
I didn't
more
know-
than Joe Klatt. Kirk
I
Herbstreit's
disagree.
very
I
good.
just-
College
this is
football.
nostalgia. This is childhood college game day nostalgia speaking.
Kirk
That's what this-
Herbstreit is.
I
he's elite.
honestly, Boone,
Let-
this
And
is
Al
a great way to end
Kirk
the show.
Herbstreit and Al Michaels.
And
That's
Al,
a
you're gonna
great.
say you'd
No,
rather listen
no.
to Al Michaels than Gus.
I would. I would.
No. You honestly,
prefer
Boone,
it.
I learn something new every day. I didn't know you're dying on the Kirk Herbstreit.
I love Kirk
didn't-
Herbstreit. He's
Al
he's
Michaels,
good at what he
you'd rather
does.
listen to Al Michaels.
They'll
than-
never give Joe Klatt Kirk Herbstreit's job. He'll
Shout out
never
Al
be on
Michaels.
game day.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying.
He would
but I'm
never be
saying
on
if you
game
put
day.
them on Thursday night. Electric.
There's a reason Herbstreit was asked
Hey,
and Joe
Michael's
Klatt
a-
wasn't.
Al's awful.
There was a
I-
reason Herbstreit was asked.
Herb's great at his job. I just would rather have Gus and Joe.
I would
Klatt.
rather have Herb
Joe.
over Joe Klatt. I'm
I
sorry.
just, I'd
He
be
is
a
100 times. He is
Herbstreit
way
and
better college
Gus?
football. Herb is better than he is better than Joe Klatt. That is a fact.
I don't want this to be like he's bad. I like her. I like listening to Herbstreit, but Joe Klatt.
bringing life to the game though. Like Herb, like even like Joel does it.
He's just
Herb
better.
doesn't get
Joel,
that
no,
excited.
dude. He is better.
like
dude.
better
It's
in,
I
like,
think that's very known.
I'll say this. I think judging who's better sometimes can be subjective for guys that do color.
Because you're just like, well, I mean,
because I
Never mind.
prefer personally. It's all a preference.
you prefer boring and stats. I prefer
Joe
Joe
Klatt is
Klatt and
boring?
Gus Johnson are the like probably the
Herbstreit's
loudest.
an absolute. He's a dog, man.
I mean, he's
Boy,
fine. I
you
like
want
him.
Al, you want 80-year-old Al Michaels up there.
All
You
right, let's say
Herb
move on with
Street.
the Al stuff. I really don't. I'm not dying on the Al hill.
He'll
I'm
die
dying
on the Herbstreit hill.
Yeah, that's the hill I'm
Absolutely.
dying on.
Put
Don't
Iron Eagle on
disrespect him.
Thursday night.
I
game.
can't
Iron
believe
Eagle's a
Joe
goat, most
Klatt.
underrated.
Not better than
commentator.
Herbstreit.
I didn't even take
I
a
ain't
shot at
Eagle,
Herbstreit. This man says stats. He says Joe Klatt.
All right,
just
that
said
was
stats.
just me. Just it was earlier today. You had text me about something, and I was like, "What do you?" You were like, "What was it?" Oh, it was the Colin Cowherd stuff. You're like, I like guys with that give. I don't know.
I like
He-
guys
he
that
is
give
a-
substance.
Substance. It's like, okay, you want to just sit there and listen to a guy just name off stats for 2 hours and the
No,
most
not at
boring
all.
voice
I
of all
like
time.
personally,
I would rather
I
listen to
like
someone with a little
educated
bit of energy and heart about the game of football. Not
That's Gus Johnson.
well, you see, there's a guy here, and you can look at his stats.
That's not how Joel's.
No, I'm talking about Colin Cowherd. Well,
Oh.
you see,
Yeah, we
the
can.
most boring. I turn it off in 2 minutes. The guy is the most boring
J-Mac.
voice,
James
it's the worst. and you're like, I would rather prefer
Get outta here.
substance. All right,
I like.
I don't care about I'll get the substance both ways. I want a little bit of
I
entertainment.
prefer that. I prefer that over Kyle Brandt going the Detroit Lions.
Oh, no. I would rather have Kyle Brandt yelling than hearing. Well, you
Because
see,
Kyle Brandt-
teams that have scored under 2.5 points in first quarters haven't made a Super Bowl in 20 years. I don't care
Kyle
about
Brandt,
that.
by
stuff.
the way, and Good Morning
Are
Football.
you a dog or you're not a dog?
They do a great job, but you know what? Kyle reminds me
You
of.
just
He's
don't like
kinda-
entertainment. like substance.
No,
I like
it's not that. Like
entertainment.
I listen to like McAfee. Like McAfee's entertaining. Like it's just Kyle.
He doesn't
I'm
bring
not-
that much substance. I'll tell you that.
But I like, but Pat's in his own like stratosphere with that, in my opinion. Like Pat's like a unicorn.
Oh, so you have to be at a certain point, a certain level.
I just don't.
to be
I don't
able to
prefer
get
Kyle
excited
Brandt.
and not. It's okay. So me,
my
like when
preference.
I get
I don't
excited,
watch Good Morning Football.
you don't prefer my style because I do what Kyle Brandt does. You don't prefer that style. You
No, I'm talking
prefer-
about as preferences. You don't like Kyle Cowherd? Did I say you come at you about Colin? I like Colin.
Hey, Tyler Chevette put it in the chat. Coward's a snooze fest. That's the best way to put
All
it.
right, you know what? Let's get out of here, Tyler.
That man's boring. I sit there and fall asleep to it.
All right, we got it here. Appreciate you all. Tomorrow we'll be back breaking down more of the Bears game. Short week this week, so lots to get to, not a lot of time. But until tomorrow, we love you guys. Get your merchandise, officialctsports.com. Follow us on all social media platforms above. Until tomorrow, 8 p.m. Be there. We'll see you.
Peace.
Peace.